Are you over 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now and get this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers, from a leading financial firm on maximizing your income in retirement. This book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms that can help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. And if you call right now, as a bonus, we'll throw in a free annuity rate report. We've researched over 1,200 annuities summarizing the rates and benefits for you. So don't miss out on this opportunity because supplies are limited. Call now and find out how you can get up to 33% more income in your retirement, and you'll receive Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and the Annuity Rate Report as an added bonus. Both books are yours free, just for calling Annuity General today.
Call 800-518-5694. That's 800-518-5694. Again, 800-518-5694.
Have you been in a motor vehicle accident that wasn't your fault? Then you may need legal representation. And if you call the number on your screen now, you can be connected to an attorney who can tell you just how much your case could be worth for free. And for a limited time, if you call now, you can get this elegant, luxurious gold watch with the money from your own case. To be clear, not for me. This is my watch. I own it, and I like it a lot. You can't have it. But if you call and win your case and the money is right, you can buy one of these watches for yourself, or any of these watches, or a different watch I've never even seen before, or no watch. The money is yours to do whatever it is you want. Just call the number on your screen now to find out how much your case could be worth for free.
To get a windfall, you first need to call. Call your favorite attorney now.
800-487-0943.
And you can't have my tie either.
Be prepared for the next power outage with a Generac home standby generator. Your life goes on uninterrupted because you'll have power when you need it the most. Act now and you will receive a free 5-year warranty. Call or go online now.
Well, one Navy veteran is showing Americans that you're never too old to have a good time.
You are looking at Spurgeon Butch Carlson, 105 years young. Oh my goodness, celebrating his birthday, he decided to go skydiving. He did a tandem jump from a plane on Sunday. He said that it's something he wanted to check off his bucket list, and sure enough, he did it. For his birthday last year, he went horseback riding for the first time with his 99-year-old brother. So, John, adventure awaits. You're never too old to take a risk and jump out of a plane.
I give him credit. That takes a lot of courage. A lot of my friends wanted to do that, do the skydiving thing. I said, you know what?
Wow.
I can think of better things to do.
I'll stay on the ground.
As scary as that. But no, kudos to him. That is incredible that he's able to do those.
You're watching theDove TV, encouraging and informative for Yuba City and Northern California. Seen on KYUB 15, KKPM 28, and these Dove TV affiliates. Good morning. You're tuned to the Dove, encouraging and informative, helping Oregon, Northern California, Idaho, and Nevada start the day with news and encouragement. This is Mornings on the Dove.
Well, good morning to you and happy Tuesday. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove, another beautiful day in the neighborhood. I'm joined by my sidekick down at the Southern Command, Mr. Steve Johnson.
Hey, it's good to be here. Beautiful day in the neighborhood, and fortunately, you still have some smoke up there. Are you eating it? Are you chewing it?
You know, what has happened, at least right outside the door, the wind shifted. The valley is clear.
Good.
We're enjoying some fresh air. We can smell it a little bit, but we have some high cloud cover, which could develop into thunderstorms. We'll talk about that. In fact, if you look over my shoulder, that's kind of the cloud cover that's out there this morning.
Gotcha.
It did make for a beautiful sunrise. However, we'll have a fire update. It's pretty monumental what's going on in the state of Oregon. Still over 200,000 acres are burning, and the numbers are staggering. But they're slowly getting a handle on it. I think there's a couple of good things, if there is. The wind kind of moves things around a little bit, so at least here we're enjoying some fresh air this morning. But the humidity stays high, which is good. When you get the humidity down around 10% or below, but it's been in the low 30s, low to middle 30s, and that does help a little bit. So anyway, we'll give you an update on all that coming up. A lot going on the news today. Wow, just so much going on. Just wait 10 minutes, something will pop up.
Yeah.
So what do you got? What's going on?
Well, not a whole lot. I mean, as far as what we are looking at today, this is National Junk Food Day. I suppose you could put whatever category you want of what you consider to be junk food. Because different people have different ideas of that. So I'm looking at a picture of it, and they have onion rings in there. Is that junk food? I guess it is, but I like them. Donuts, hot dogs even. I don't know. I think that needs to be looked at a little bit more. And it's also, let's see, that's about it. There's not a whole lot. It says National Be Someone Day, which sounds very ego-focused. I would say be that person to someone else who they need a helping hand today.
It's Be Somebody today?
Be Someone Day, which, like I said, I want to turn that into as opposed to all the stuff that we see on social media where people are trying to be someone, I'd say be someone to that person who needs someone.
Be a blessing today.
And bring them some junk food. I don't know. We try to tie these things together.
All right, there we go.
As much as I can do.
That's it. You did a good job. All right, let's check out the weather. Let's see how it's going to be today.
Here's a look at your Tuesday weather from Grange Co-op. Across northern Oregon and southern Washington, mostly sunny skies through the region with Vancouver near 96 and Portland 97. Wilsonville turns hot with a high of 100 and McMinnville tops out near 97. Through the Willamette Valley, mostly sunny weather continues with afternoon highs well into the upper 90s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene. Lows tonight cool back into the low to mid-60s. Smoke and haze in central Oregon clearing to sunshine in Prineville near 95, while Bend and Sun River reached the low 90s. Boise remained smoky and partly sunny with a hot afternoon high near 99. Along the Oregon coast, patchy fog gives way to mostly sunny skies with Coos Bay near 72 and Port Orford 70. Brookings turns partly sunny near 54 and Crescent City reaches 64 after patchy fog. Hot in southern Oregon with highs around 100 in Grants Pass and 102 in Medford. Ashland reaches 97 while Klamath Falls turns partly sunny with a high of 91. Across Northern California, heat continues in Wairika near 96, Redding 199 in Chico. Fort Bragg stays much cooler with mostly sunny skies and a high of 62. Around the Bay Area, a slight chance of showers gives way to sunshine and 88 in Santa Rosa, Napa 89, San Francisco 78, and San Jose 91. Overnight lows fall into the upper 50s to mid-60s. Across central California, more hot weather in Sacramento, Stockton the Modesto reaching 97, Fresno, Visalia, and Bakersfield climb to 100 with heat advisories through the region. That's a snapshot of today's weather from Grange Co-op.
All right, there's a snapshot of our backyard, and you can see we have some high clouds, a little bit of smoke kind of locked in between the clouds on the top of the mountains, but nothing like we had yesterday. At least you can see across the valley right now. So anyway, not bad. We're going to take that. We'll give you the fire update coming up in a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Anthony George says we should be looking back to the Old Testament, which I think he's right. For people who think they just want to read the New Testament, which is great, the Old Testament has a lot of terrific things in there, too. And he goes back to God's promise to Abraham. So we're going back to the first book, Genesis 13. And he says it concludes that if God gives something to you, it is yours.
He said, Abraham, lift your eyes now and look from the place where you are, northward, southward, eastward, and westward. For how much of the land? All the land which you see I give to you and to your descendants for how long? Forever. Now it either means forever or it doesn't. And God says, I will make your descendants as numerous as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could number dust particles, then your descendants also could be numbered. So arise, walk in the land through its length and through its width, for, what does he say? I give it to you. It's interesting he said, I give it to you. He didn't say the United Kingdom's going to give it to you. through the British mandate. He didn't say the United Nations is going to give it to you through their allotment and the territorial boundaries of coexistence with other racial groups. God said, I am giving it to you. It is a divine bequeathal, a divine bestowal.
Well, that reminds me of the book that Dr. David Jeremiah wrote quite a few years ago. And in that book, I'm trying to think of the name of the book, and I will here in a minute. But in that book, he described the original real estate agreement that God gave Israel.
Yeah, it's about twice the size, maybe 3 times larger than what Israel is right now.
They're saying Israel is about 28% of the original contract today. And to think there's been administrations past, both Republican and Democrat, to think that should be cut in half in a 2-state solution. So
I agree.
And when you look at the original real estate contract that God gave Israel through Abraham, you look at this and you go, wow.
Talk about Genesis being in the news today. I mean, there it is right there. There's part of a controversy.
Yeah, it really is. All right, good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. Let's take a look at some of the top stories, and they are numerous this morning. The first one is a little bit of an update. The escalation between the United States and Iran continues over the last several days, and this is accelerating into all kinds of action. Because right now, as you know, Iran lobbed a couple of missiles into Jordan and killed 2 U.S. service members, and the third one is still missing. And the president said, you will pay for this more than you can possibly imagine. And it looks like now that the president, through the Central Command, is now targeting not only military facilities, but infrastructure. And the question is, will he go to dams? Will he go to bridges? Will he go to power plants? Apparently, that's on the table, you know?
Yeah, it looks like that's a possibility more all the time.
Yes, and there's another thing that has popped up in the president's rhetoric, which we haven't heard lately. He's talking about there must be, quote, a regime change. What does that mean? And so anyway, all the MOUs, all the peace talks, going to Pakistan, going here, going there, Kirshner and all these people trying to put together these peace talks, all that's off the table. It's just like full blown. And the question remains, even when I interview, in fact, you'll hear about it a little bit later when I interview Chris Mitchell, the question is, both Israel and the United States want to de-nuke Iran.
Right.
Nobody can tell me how they plan to do it.
And assure that they will remain denuked. Yeah.
There's a couple things is, what do they do with the enriched uranium? They call that nuclear dust. One of the thoughts is go ahead and bomb it and bury it. So that's a possibility. They're thinking about going back to the original site that they bombed, what was it, last year, where they had bombed in the middle of the night, and they took out those deep bombs that went in the ground and took out those facilities. Yeah. They're thinking about another attack in that area. So anyway, the war continues over there, and it is pretty nasty.
And there's been talk about taking over Karg Island also, that's right on that peninsula, I guess, and that would mean some American troops would have to be there.
Yes.
So that's kind of a controversial thing.
We'll see where that goes. The other story is Senator Lindsey Graham, apparently now, his memorial has been delayed for another week or so. He will lay in state, which is kind of interesting for a senator. And that's expected to be announced. In the meantime, as you know, the governor of South Carolina has appointed his sister, and they're calling her now Darlene Graham. Now, she has a married name, but they're going by her maiden name. Yeah. And she's now been appointed to the seat. There was rumors that Representative Mace was going to run for the seat. Nancy Mace was kind of coming highly recommended, and she said no, she's not going to go for another title. She's out of there, and she doesn't want to do that. But I guess Darlene Graham was interviewed last night on Hannity.
Yeah, and in fact, that's when she made the announcement that she's in the race to take her brother's seat.
I'll continue to say I've been praying a lot, talking to my family, but with the love of my family, with the support of his staff. I know I'm a hard worker. I learned that from Lindsey. He cared about the people of this state. I've worked for almost 30 years for the people of this state.
I want to talk about that in a minute.
I feel like I can do it. I feel an inner peace about it. Will it be difficult? Yes, absolutely.
So you're inclined to get in, or have you even made a final decision?
I've made a decision.
You're in.
I'm in.
Okay, this actually sets up interesting scenarios. The president kind of likes the idea. He hasn't endorsed her yet. There are other people thinking about running for the seat. Now, they're going to have a special Republican primary on August 9th, I think it is. And then the top two, if one doesn't get 51%, the top two will have a runoff 10 days later. This is really something. Now, do you let her go at it alone, and can she beat the Democrat? Okay. Problem.
Right. There's a big question.
A big question, okay? The second problem is you have a crowded primary and she doesn't win. Is that a kind of a slap in the face against the Lindsay's legacy? I don't know. Okay.
Well, apparently he was going to have a tough run against the Democratic opponent. So it wasn't going to be a big sweep for him anyway.
There is pressure on I'm thinking that the attorney that's on Fox that was in Congress, Trey Gowdy. There's pressure on Trey Gowdy to go. And I don't know where he is. You know, he's pretty coy about how he handles these things. So anyway, we'll have to wait and see. You have the primary coming up in August. She's in. Now, during that interview, there was another little indication that could be a little bit of an issue. Okay. She was very much for domestic issues and felt that Lindsay was too much on foreign issues and national security. Now, that could be a problem. That could be a problem.
He was big on the international scene. You're right.
He was, and he was very big on national security. The fact that she would back away from that and saying that her interest would be more on the domestic side could be nothing more than inexperience, because you should be interested in all issues at all times, at all levels.
Especially if you're taking over from somebody who died shortly after his trip to Ukraine, which was an international effort for him.
The other story that kind of supports all of this, fundraising being what it is, and I look at this stuff, but I don't believe anybody else should do it.
Oh, what's that?
And that is how much the parties are raising in money. Because that has a lot.
I can't relate to it anyway.
I know. Well, it's a lot of money. But the Republican National Committee, the RNC, raised an additional $16.7 million in June, bringing their total at the close of June to $128.5 million cash on hand. Okay, and they have another month to go to raise money before they have to start spending it. Now, here's an interesting thing. In the bank, if these figures are true, but this was cumulative numbers as of late yesterday, the cumulative Republican number is $151,925,000 in the bank with zero debt.
Oh, wow, that's good.
The Democratic side has $77,756,000 was still a remaining $16 million in debt.
Well, they had a big debt after Kamala's run, that's for sure.
Yeah, so they, if it's a money game, the Republicans win it hands down, but you'll always see money kicked in at the last moment. But there's an interesting article that supports all this nonsense, and that is the big money donors don't like the radical socialism of the party. So we'll see where this goes. All right.
That's for sure. Well, we had a problem that took place in New York City yesterday. It was an attack on a federal building, and an individual was arrested. His name was Andrew Arabaka. He was a mechanic on Patriot missile systems. He's in custody and is now being interviewed at the FBI New York office. He apparently was a person who, according to the officials, they said he was trying to injure and harm people.
He had 2 axes, a hammer, a machete, and 3 knives, fixed blade knives. He had as I said earlier, 6 incendiary devices or fireworks, and he had some other destructive items.
So that's it started a fire. You're looking at it saying, well, was that really that big of a story? There's been some comments that why did he do this anyway? Here he was in the military. Could it be because of the rhetoric about ICE being such a terrible organization that he was slightly mentally off and this just pushed him over? It's kind of hard to tell, but it gained a lot of attention because of all the, I wouldn't say explosive materials, but caused a big fire out there in that.
If you see the videotape of him setting the liquid on fire,
yeah,
it is so intentional. Okay, so
oh, definitely.
I mean, he's guilty as all get out, but he comes up with a big can of something. If it was gas, I don't think it was. It was something else. Could have been diesel, but he pours it all over the sidewalk there and then lights it on fire. It's amazing. He didn't catch on fire, and he runs away, but they catch him down the road. I don't know.
Well, we've got another story out of New York that is a big one. And here's, let me just pose the scenario. Can a mayor of a city in the United States arrest a prime minister of another country? You might say, well, no, that sounds kind of ridiculous. That's exactly what we've been hearing from Zohran Mamdani, the New York mayor, who says because the UN is there and they're going to be having a UN meeting, General Assembly, and probably Benjamin Netanyahu is going to come. He has said that he has every intention of desiring to see Netanyahu arrested.
Look, I believe that Prime Minister Netanyahu belongs in The Hague. He's a war criminal who has been charged by the International Criminal Court. And what you will find is that is an opinion that is held by many purely because of what his actions have wrought over these last many years. I've also said that I will follow the laws that we have here in New York City because I believe that there's an importance in following the law as a leader who presides over our city, and that's something that I plan to do.
Meaning? I'm sorry, I don't understand what that means.
Meaning that whatever the law allows me to do in New York City, that's what we will do, but we won't be writing our own laws to that end.
The president has responded on Truth Social. He says, hey, Benjamin Netanyahu won't be arrested in any way. He's fighting the Republic of Iran. He's killed 52,000 people. And he said this is something that is kind of a ridiculous concept to even be thinking about. So he's saying, no, that's not going to happen. And they've had some others who have worked in various federal agencies as lawyers saying, this is nothing that Mamdani can do. In fact, if he tried to do that, he could be arrested. So it's kind of gotten into a ridiculous area, but this is what we have, a New York mayor who says we're going to arrest the head of Israel.
Okay, so unpack this a little bit in the sense that is he personally going to go out there and get him, or is he going to send his police chief out there to get him? Is he going to cause a riot within his own police chief where they're going to disobey that order because they know it's ridiculous? Is it now even a threat? Is it an international threat from a mayor in the city of New York creating an international threat of a leader of a state where he should be arrested right now?
Yeah. Well, and let's face it, the ICC, the court there.
Yeah. International Criminal Court. Well, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's just.
It is nothing that the United States agrees is even legitimate, nor Israel.
No.
So it has no authority here at all. We have not signed on to the internet. And that's one of the reasons why, because of this kind of an action. So it's a very strange thing to see happen. And you go, this is the intelligence level we're working with the mayor of New York City, which is one of the cities really that people think of when they think of the United States from abroad.
Well, how we went from 9/11 to this guy is one of the great mysteries. So one other quick story I don't want it to slide by, and that is that the Senate conservatives now are increasingly open to trying to get President Trump's election integrity agenda to a government full bill, funding bill, and even at the point of shutting the government down. So it looks like they're going to hold Congress in session and see if they can get the SAFE Act across. I don't know if this is going to be pulled off or not, but there appears to be an attitude change with some Republicans in the Senate. Now, and I don't know if this is pressure on Thune from the legacy of Graham, but apparently they're going to fight for it now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought it was dead. after it sounded like it would pass. And then you had a bunch of Republicans saying, no, we're not going to vote for it. So maybe there's another chapter here.
Yeah, it's especially after the president's speech, and I think that is a big part of it, of the president's speech. All right, those are the top stories. How's that for an interesting start on your Tuesday morning? Not to mention that it's junk food day. Wash it all down.
Junk food.
Junk food. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone. I'm coming to you today with a very exciting need. We are upgrading our radio and podcast studios so that we can serve you better, and we're so close to the finish line. To push us across, we need just $19,495 for the final equipment. Would you prayerfully consider a special summertime gift? As always, only give what the Lord puts on your heart, and please don't take from your church or any other ministry. Thank you. Thank you for believing in, praying for, and supporting the mission of the Dove.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox. Air is life. Make it perfect.
In a world desperately seeking truth, Cliff Connectley and his son Stuart travel across the U.S. to give an answer for questions, doubts, and challenges concerning faith.
What is the evidence that Muhammad spoke the truth? What is the evidence that Jesus Christ spoke the truth?
Their mission is to ignite a passion for truth, guide individuals to embrace faith, and help people find purpose, engaging skeptics.
It kind of sounds like then that God punished us. The vast majority of chaos in nature is a direct result of God stepping back.
They're driven by a deep commitment for spreading the message of Christ to a world who needs it.
But you see, what Satan has done is he's put doubt in our mind.
Join them as they strive to make a lasting impact on lives and hearts, sharing the love of Jesus with an unwavering dedication.
Because God loves you, and God has given you gifts.
Watch Give Me an Answer, weekdays at 3 on the Dove TV.
Okay, welcome back. 24 minutes past the hour. Stephen Perry with you this morning. Just a little bit of an update. The state of Oregon is just burning. I mean, if you go to watch duty and you look at their big map and you get out towards eastern Oregon, and it's just unbelievable, not to mention our own backyard. And there's well over 200,000 acres burning in the state of Oregon. The crews are thin. They've been spread out. The assets to cover all of this is, they do their best to move things around. Even here, we have airplanes on the tarmac, and then all of a sudden they're dispatched to another location, so they kind of come and go. Bulldozers, local fire departments, the thousands of people that are fighting these fires, not to mention the support teams. This has been a really active season, and it's kind of like our nightmare. To give you a little bit of a backdrop to what's happening, our own fire right just to the north of us here, a few miles east, Evans Creek Fire, is now 15,618 acres. It has now moved up to 17% contained. That's good news. A lot of those fire lines are holding, and the wind changes enough to where hopefully the fire burns back into itself and burns out, but they are slowly getting a handle on it, and that's all subject to the winds. The Roe Creek Fire, it's a Roe Creek complex fire, which takes in several fires, and this includes Wheeler County, Wasco County, Jefferson County. It's 142,000 acres. It's only 5% contained. Another big fire out east is the Brewer Fire, which takes in parts of Crook County and Jefferson County. That's 24,000 acres, zero containment on that one. And the Hayes Creek Fire, again, this takes in counties like Gilliam and Wasco and Sherman counties. That's pushing 92,000 acres, 27% contained. That's just this morning. That does not mention all the little fires that are out there, anywhere from 1 to 20 to 30 acres. These are just the big ones. And the estimate now went over, well over 200,000 acres burning. So it's a bad time for us here. The state is dry and hot, and we have hot weather coming. In fact, we're talking triple digits possibly tomorrow here.
Wow.
This could be our first 100-degree day in our backyard today. Other parts have already seen it. So be careful. Be praying for these people. It is courageous work. It's dangerous work. It takes a lot of brave people to be out there. And you know they're tired. You know they're tired. That is just really difficult work. They bring in crews, sometimes what they call spot fire crews from other states, depending on what's going on out there. You get BLM involved. You get the state forestry involved. You get counties involved. You get cities involved. There's a lot of coordination going on, but we're way far from being out of the woods with all of this right now, so we'll keep you posted. But right now, the state is burning a lot, unfortunately. All right, let's take a look at this. Huh?
Oh, go ahead, yeah. Weather.
Oh, I was going to say, here's the satellite image. Take a look at it real quick. What you see here, it doesn't look like a whole lot going on, but there's a lot of moisture in the air, and we have a lot of cloud cover this morning. Now, this can burn off as the heat comes up from the sun. It could move those clouds out, but it also can cause thunderstorms. So it's kind of a mixed bag out there as to what.
You kind of wish that blue blob would move closer to the coast. And
yeah.
It's about the size of Oregon. It could cover it and give you some rain.
Yeah. It comes and goes and thins out as it gets to the state line there. So there you go.
All right, it is time to stretch our brains a little bit. You know, the Apostle Paul said, be ready for an answer to give of the hope that you have within you. And I always think of that and realize, boy, am I really going to have an answer for somebody who might say, why do you believe what you believe, as far as from a spiritual standpoint? If you've seen it on YouTube, two guys that are Oxford professors have been doing debates for some time now, and I found it fascinating. One of them is John Lennox. He's a professor of mathematics, and he's a Christian. The other one is Peter Atkins. He's also from Oxford, and he's a chemistry focused professor. And so they were in a debate, and I found this interesting. This is just part of the entire, you'd have to sit there and really get focused with a cup of really caffeinated coffee to keep up with these guys, okay? And they talked about the existence of God. Here's how it went.
Presumably, you think that if there was absolutely nothing and it turned into absolutely something, that there was an agent involved in causing that. Is that the creation?
I wouldn't quite put it that way. I would say that the universe comes from nothing physical, but it doesn't come from nothing. God is not nothing. In fact, we get the whole thing upside down. We tend to think, partly because of the way we're educated in terms of science, that mass energy and material is the basic stuff of the universe. Of course, now we've come down to nothing being the basic stuff. I would want to say about that is, I don't believe it, but secondly, God is not physical, God is spirit. And the fundamental stuff in the universe is mind and spirit. It's not material. So then, if I could finish, the universe comes from nothing physical, but it doesn't come from nothing. It comes from God who created it. Let there be light, and there was light. And so that is my position.
And that's not a position which you believe conflicts with the science we do know of, the Big Bang?
Not at all. The Big Bang is wonderful because it simply tells us there was a beginning. And science caught up from the Bible, with the Bible in the 1960s. Because science was tied to Aristotle for centuries, believing that there was an eternal universe. Now we believe in a beginning. Whether you mean a beginning of the multiverse or the universe, it doesn't really matter, because the latest mathematical theorems by Guth, the man I just mentioned, Vilenkin and Borde, say that there is an absolute beginning. So the Bible has said it for centuries.
All right, there you go. A little something to think about. And they even throw in the Big Bang Theory there, which I know some Christians have, debated as well. How did that actually start? And was the Big Bang something a part of it? But I thought, I'd like to sit down for a whole evening and kind of hear this debate going back and forth, because this was just a small part of it, but pretty fascinating.
The disdain reflection on Peter Atkins' face was pretty amazing. He was rolling his eyes and go back and forth. Yeah, I'd like to hear that one out. By the way, that setting, when I was in the UK a couple of times, this is a big show over there. This is a big deal. And you know who was a guest on that and held the argument very well is Anne Graham Lotz. When she goes there, that university will bring her in and sit her down, and I'm telling you, it's amazing. She can keep up with them.
Wow.
And she can defend the gospel. But the point I get out of that is, if there was a beginning, then how did the beginning begin? And who's in charge of the beginning? You know?
And I liked his something to think about. I liked the view that we had of John Lennox saying, you know what, we have to look at this as spiritual situation, and that out of that was created by God what we see as physical. We tend to default to the physical, the things we can touch, and all the rest. And he's saying, no, it's much more than that.
Okay. Well, a little bit of a heady thing this morning. We'll take a...
Yeah, why not?
I think we need to go get some fresh air. We'll be right back.
Everything comes alive. Everything comes alive. Everything comes alive.
How can I grow spiritually? It's one of the most meaningful questions we can ask, and you're not alone in asking it. Over the years, 5 simple but powerful keys have helped countless people deepen their faith. 1, rediscover the Bible. Let God's Word speak to you in new and fresh ways. 2, restart your prayer life. Even small, consistent steps make a big difference. 3, reconnect with God's people. We truly are better together. 4, resist your sinful habits. Grace is always greater, and change is possible. And 5, invest in others. This might just be the most life-giving one of all. God has a place for you to serve and people He's specifically placed in your path. So here's a loving nudge. Don't just sit back and soak up another sermon. Take what you've learned and start living it out. When you pray for and support the Dove, you're stepping into something bigger than you might realize. You become a media missionary right alongside us, carrying hope and encouragement into thousands of homes every single hour, in your own backyard and literally around the world. Your generous support keeps the Dove on the air and actively spreads the gospel far and wide. We are so grateful for every partner who makes that possible. Would you prayerfully consider a special summertime gift today? Summers are always a little challenging for us, and your support would mean a lot. You can give anytime by calling 541-776-5368 or safely and securely at our new website, thedove.us. Thank you so much for your partnership. Together, we really are changing lives for good and pointing people to the Lord every single day.
Well, in the meantime, have you ever wanted to go on an archaeological dig?
Yes.
Have you ever done it?
Yep. No, I haven't, but you don't have to go that far. Have you seen some of the stuff they found, like in Montana and Wyoming?
Yeah.
It's amazing, you know?
Dinosaurs and stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
I guess there are organizations that will take you on an archaeological dig even into the Holy Lands. You can get in there, go into Israel, and dig around a little bit. Well, apparently they continue to find some fascinating biblical discoveries. And so in the city of David there in Jerusalem, they're doing some digging around. So CBN News joins us with a little bit of an update on some of the things they have recently discovered.
Everyone's favorite Israeli tour guide, Yoav Rotem. Yoav, set the scene. What did they find?
Shalom, Raj.
So first of all, let's understand where was it found, what was found, and what do we take out of it? What can we learn from it? So we're talking about actually excavations that is happening for the past over 10 years in a place called the Givati parking lot. It's actually right across from the entrance to the city of David, the actual site. They found quite a lot of stuff over there in the past years. You yourself have been there. This is where we used to go under the street from the Second Temple time, the time of Jesus, a street that Jesus walked on it. And right over there, they found remains to destroyed house, a big house with burnt wood, biological material, wood with a lot of rings that was burnt in the time of the destruction of the first temple, the Solomonic temple, 586 BC, 2600 years before our time. This is crazy. Now we're talking about a big house, a big complex that not only that, the finding of this kind of wood, by the way, the wood usually doesn't preserve in this kind of environment. They're saying that the plaster that was burning in the house in the time of the destruction of, the Babylonians, they burned the city, and the plaster from the heat melted on the wood and kept it and preserved it for so many years. This is what kept it. Yeah.
Well, to me, this is just overwhelming. You and I have been in the city of David where we find ash from the Roman destruction of Jerusalem in the year 70 AD. But this is like 600 years before that. Exactly. When Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians, it's so long ago. From an American perspective, it almost seems like a fairy tale, like Lord of the Rings or Narnia. But here you have biological remains from the destruction of Jerusalem during the time of, Daniel, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, Esther, the great stories of the Old Testament. Here you have a biological finding from the destruction of not the second, which is really old, but the first temple. As an Israeli, what does that make you feel?
Wow. It's again, I think we've discussed it before. Forgive me for being a little bit of, using a cliche, but it's like finding your roots again and again in the ground. They also talk about the fact that they found the rings of the wood, which helps them to actually date it today in the accuracy of 10 years here or there, which means that we are so secure about it that this is the time now. It's not only this finding, the same house, the same complex. Let's go back to the story. What happens? The year 586, destruction of the temple. We have the leadership of Jerusalem being exiled to Babylon, and we have about 70 years later, around 515 BC, Cyrus, the king of Persia, is letting the Jews coming back, the time of Ezra and Nehemiah. They're coming back, starting to build the second temple. Zerubbabel, Joshua, they're building a second temple, and people resettling in Jerusalem. And what they found over there is something fascinating. They found that this compound, this building, was resettled, but the area of the ash, the wood, was not cleared and not evacuated. They kept it like memory, like something they wanted to remember. This week in Israel, we remember the date of 9th of Av. This is the traditional date that the first temple was destroyed, the second temple was destroyed. This is the Jewish date that we are fasting, we are in mourn. Until today, the memory we remember. It starts back then. It's unbelievable how we can connect our life to their life, and how their life already projected in a way back in the past, our life today. Memory, remembering, always when something went wrong, we want to fix with God, we want to be with God, we want to go straight with God, and we will be in the land, we will get all the promises. This is something unbelievable that happens on and on and on.
It's so overwhelming to me as an archaeology nerd that this is not just a stone, but biological material, things that that people that saw the Babylonian Empire probably outside their window touch this wood. It's just unbelievable.
Isn't that amazing?
It is. The discoveries that are still being found in that area. Amazing.
You know, you kind of wonder, given the time in which we live, Bible prophecy, and how you try to tie it all together in your own mind. Of course, there's people out there that, predict and say, but you wonder, is God going to allow more discoveries? Are we going to find the Ark?
Like the Ark of the Covenant?
Yep.
That kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. Are we really going to find Noah's Ark?
Noah's Ark, that Ark too.
I mean, you kind of wonder, is all of this is timing. When you find something as significant as this and they're able to tie the dates together, and then it kind of sinks in with where they are in their worship calendar of remembering, which is big for the Jewish faith. It's kind of interesting, to say the least.
Yes.
All right, let's take a look at the weather. That's also interesting. It's right outside the door there. That's weather out there.
Here's a look at your Tuesday weather from Grange Co-op. Across northern Oregon and southern Washington, mostly sunny skies through the region with Vancouver near 96 and Portland 97. Wilsonville turns hot with a high of 100 and McMinnville tops out near 97. Through the Willamette Valley, mostly sunny weather continues with afternoon highs well into the upper 90s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene. Lows tonight cool back into the low to mid 60s. Smoke and haze in central Oregon clearing to sunshine in Prineville near 95, while Bend and Sun River reached the low 90s. Boise remained smoky and partly sunny with a hot afternoon high near 99. Along the Oregon coast, patchy fog gives way to mostly sunny skies with Coos Bay near 72 and Port Orford 70. Brookings turns partly sunny near 54 and Crescent City reaches 64 after patchy fog. Hot in southern Oregon with highs around 100 in Grants Pass and 102 in Medford. Ashland reaches 97 while Klamath Falls turns partly sunny with a high of 91. Across northern California, heat continues in Wairika near 96, Redding 199 in Chico. Fort Bragg stays much cooler with mostly sunny skies and a high of 62. Around the Bay Area, a slight chance of showers gives way to sunshine and 88 in Santa Rosa, Napa 89, San Francisco 78, and San Jose 91. Overnight lows fall into the upper 50s to mid 60s. Across central California, more hot weather in Sacramento, Stockton the Modesto reaching 97, Fresno, Visalia, and Bakersfield climb to 100 with heat advisories through the region. That's a snapshot of today's weather from Grange Co-op.
Well, there we go. On this day in history. Well, it's always a mystery what the history is. Let's check in with Jerry and find out.
On July 21st, 1853, New York State set aside more than 750 acres in the heart of Manhattan to create what would become Central Park. At the time, some questioned giving up what might become valuable land in a growing city, but the decision proved remarkably far-sighted. Today, the park welcomes more than 40 million visitors each year, providing city residents with lakes, trails, meadows, and a welcome escape from the surrounding skyscrapers. If that same land were open for commercial development today, experts estimate it would be worth tens of billions of dollars, making it some of the most valuable real estate on Earth. Instead, for more than 170 years, Central Park has remained one of New York City's greatest treasures, proving that not every priceless investment comes with a price tag.
You ever been there?
Can you imagine? Yeah, I haven't, but can you imagine if New York didn't have Central Park? It would just be another huge city. I mean, that is a great urban planning concept that they have.
Yeah, it's, of course, if you have an apartment that looks out down on it, you know, the value of that. But no, it's a fascinating place to go. It's you can't do it in a day. I mean, you could try. You really can't. It's got so many little ins and outs and everything else like that.
Yeah, cool.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
That is neat. Well, this is kind of a historical half hour that we're having right here. And, you know, I think of the movie Schindler's List. If Steven Spielberg hadn't made that, we may not have known about one act that took place of compassion during World War II, for example. Well, during a period of forced labor that took place in Bosnia and Herzegovina, in Yugoslavia. Holocaust survivor Marion Horn, okay, so we're talking about World War II. She remembers a small act of humanity by an Italian soldier. Now, remember what side the Italians were on. And Marion's testimony recorded by the USC Shoah Foundation back in 1995.
They had about 10 machine guns pointed at us. We have instructions. The Italians are taking over the territory. We cannot take you with us, and we cannot let you free. And we have instructions that we have to kill you all. If you were making a Hollywood movie, it couldn't have been any more effective. And suddenly we heard motors roaring. And they were really positioning the machine guns. They were going to just, raise us down. And they had promised that it was going to be quick. The motors kept coming closer and closer, and it was heavy tanks and trucks, and it was the Italian troops that were taking over. And the first Italians coming into the area said to the Germans, what is going on here? And they said, well, we're leaving, and we have orders. We can't leave these people. And they said, well, just don't worry about it. You just leave, and we'll worry about it. We'll take care of them. So the Germans packed up on their trucks and left. And there was one truck that was marked Cucina. There was the army cook. I remember going over to the truck. There was a little Italian soldier. I said to him, "Ma abbiamo così fame. We are so hungry." This is, I think, only a 10-year-old, 9-year-old child. And he looked at me, mushed up my hair, and he said, "Little one, I'm going to make you spaghetti." And he took a laundry bin, and he boiled spaghetti for everybody. It was the most unbelievable thing. When you have that experience, and then the contrast, I don't know if I'm expressing, it was just unbelievable. They were so kind. They were so apologetic. They were so sorry about what had happened. They said, "We don't have the authority to let you people free, but we're not going to kill you."
And so there she was, like, what, 8, 9, 10, she said? So she looked pretty young even in 95. And these are the small acts of humanity. And humane actions. Not only did they let him go free, but they cooked him spaghetti.
That's amazing.
It's an amazing thing. She's right. It could be a Hollywood movie, and I think it's Schindler's List in the same vein. And Corrie ten Boom, remember, she had so many stories to tell too.
Yeah, and that movie was called The Hiding Place. Amazing.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site, in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare. Your loved one can spend the day with us, and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living. Your home.
Jerry's Historical Archives. Moments to remember. Go back in time. Back in the day. TV shows of the past. Relive the past and learn something new. Open up Jerry's Historical Archives. Weekdays only on Mornings on the Dove. Real Life with Jack Hibbs, now on the Dove TV every weekend. Direct from Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills, Jack challenges today's generation to understand and practice the biblical worldview, verse by verse, addressing key cultural and daily life issues. Deepen your walk with Christ to make an effective impact on your world. Don't miss Real Life with Jack Hibbs, Sundays at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. on the Dove TV. Encouraging and informative.
Okay, good morning to you. Welcome back. Stephen Perry with you. About 19 minutes before the top of the hour. And, 9 minutes before the top of the hour. Had Chris Mitchell on yesterday live from Jerusalem. And he's been kind of like the Middle East correspondent for CBN for decades. And I asked him the big question. I said, Chris, at your point of view, 30,000 feet, how much has the Middle East changed in just 2 years? And here's what he had to say.
Dramatically. I think October 7th was a watershed for the region. You can look at the region before and after October 7th. It changed Israel dramatically, the worst day in Israel's history since the Holocaust. There was a major change in the military doctrine of Israel, that they were no longer going to wait for its enemies to arm themselves and gain strength. They allowed that in Gaza with Hamas. They allowed it in Lebanon with Hezbollah. So now they are going proactively to make sure that if their enemy is saying, we want to destroy Israel, they're going to take them at their word and do what they can to eliminate that threat. Iran is substantially degraded since October 7th. They had a master plan called the Ring of Fire to have all its proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, and other militias in the region to destroy Israel. Now Israel is the strongest nation in the region, and they have the support of some of the Sunni nations like the UAE and Bahrain, and I would add probably Saudi Arabia privately. So it's changed dramatically. And we also see on the horizon, and really it's not that far off the horizon, Perry, is the threat of Turkey. Turkey represents a threat to Israel based on their rhetoric from their foreign minister saying that Israel's a burden to humanity, where President Erdogan is calling Prime Minister Netanyahu a genocide killer. That is the next, I think, major threat to Israel and the region. But it has changed dramatically, Perry. It's a historic time, and I would say almost also a biblical time, and maybe even prophetic time of what we're watching right now.
There you go. All right, coming up a little bit later on, so we got sad news yesterday that Dr. Tim Murphy passed away over the weekend. And I have been interviewing him since 2023. Great friend. I wrote the book, The Christ Cure. Very sudden, unexpected. We're going to play the first interview that I did with him in May of 2023. And we send our condolences and prayers and thoughts to his family. So that'll be coming up a little bit later today.
All right. Well, we've got a story about a guy in his retirement. He's a hero.
Some heroes don't wear scrubs. They simply offer a comforting embrace. For the past 8 years, 73-year-old Dave Whitlow has volunteered as a baby cuddler in the neonatal intensive care unit at Children's Hospital of Richmond. Twice a week, he gently holds premature and critically ill newborns, giving nurses an extra set of caring hands and babies the comfort of human touch. Before returning each infant to their bed, he whispers the same heartfelt blessing: grow strong, grow smart, grow kind. Whitlow says it's the best job he's ever had, proving that sometimes the most powerful medicine isn't found in a bottle, It's found in simple acts of love and compassion.
Isn't that great? Wow. He's a baby cuddler. That's probably what it says on his card.
Wow. I mean, that just shows, you make yourself available, you can be used anywhere.
Oh, good point.
Yeah. I was thinking about Hearts with the Mission's new ministry where they're befriending elderly people that are alone. It's turned out to be a huge success. Just go in and sit with them, talk to them, be their friend, do little things for them. And you'd be surprised how many elderly people are all alone. Wow. All right, take with you Romans 10:17. So then faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Boy, that's a big amen to that. That's why you need to be in church. You need to hear the Sunday sermon. All right, there's a picture of our backyard. We'll be right back. Hello everyone, Perry Atkinson here. I'm coming to you with some very exciting news. We are upgrading our radio and podcast studio so that we can serve you better, and we are so close to the finish line. To push us over, we just need $19,495 for the final equipment. Would you prayerfully consider a special summertime gift today? As always, please prayerfully seek the Lord's leading as you consider supporting the Dove, and only do what the Lord puts on your heart. And please don't take from your church or any other ministry that He has you involved in. We want His blessing on every gift. Call anytime, 541-776-5368, or go online safely and securely at the Dove's new website at theDove.us. And thank you. Thank you for praying for and supporting the mission of the Dove.
Here's that number again, 541-776-5368, or online at theDove.us. The Dove, encouraging and informative.
Hi, I'm Paulina Leiser, producer and host of The Ancient Church. Join me Sunday evenings as we explore Orthodox Christianity, its history, theology, worship, and living traditions.
The Ancient Church, Sundays at 6 p.m. on the Dove TV.
When life feels heavy, your body feels it, your mind feels it. That is why I created Organic Elements Wellness Spa, a place where wellness is not a luxury, it's a way of life. Step into our wellness lounge with a Himalayan salt room, infrared sauna, steam room, and invigorating cold plunge. Restore your nervous system, detox your body, and clear your mind. Then experience customized massage, advanced skin therapies, and result-driven facials, all designed to help you look as good as you feel. There's nothing else like this in Southern Oregon. This is your space to heal, to reset, to glow. Call today to book your private wellness party for up to 15 guests, or surprise someone special with a gift certificate.
Visit Organic Elements Wellness Spa on East Main Street in Medford. Book online at organicelementspa.com. Wellness is wholeness. Voted best of Southern Oregon.
If you don't drive it, donate it. By supporting us, you'll get even more mileage out of it.
Thank you from the Dove TV. Preaching the gospel and equipping the saints in a way that only Todd Friel can. Wretched, weekdays and weeknights on the Dove TV. Encouraging and informative. You're tuned to the Dove. Encouraging and informative. Helping Oregon, Northern California, Idaho, and Nevada start the day with news and encouragement. This is Mornings on the Dove.
Well, good morning to you, and welcome to Mornings on the Dove on this beautiful Tuesday morning. Mr. Steve Johnson joining me this morning.
It is a beautiful
on
Tuesday.
His 14th cup of coffee?
Not quite that many, but I did have a double this morning.
Of what?
Yeah.
What's the blend?
Well, it's a dark roast.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a real dark roast. I've got a combination. Audacio, I have found, is really good if you have an espresso machine.
Audacio.
Give it a try.
Okay.
Audacio.
Okay.
I have no idea what it means.
Okay, there he is.
It's good.
Mr. Johnson, good to see you, friend. A lot going on in the news. There always is. A little bit of a fire update, yes. We actually have some clear skies here over the valley this morning and capped off with some high clouds. But we'll have a fire update for you coming up shortly. There's still about 200,000 plus acres burning in the state of Oregon. It's critical, to say the least, and we'll give you that update, so stick around for that. A lot going on in the news, usually is. Wait 10 minutes and there'll be something else dominating the news.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, anything special today?
Well, yeah. You've been eating very healthy. I commend you. Congratulations. Now you can change. It's National Junk Food Day. So whatever you consider to be junk food. And I saw on the list the picture that we had, like hot dogs. I don't think of hot dogs as that. In fact, if you've seen some of these gourmet shows, cooking shows, they can make hot dogs into something very upper scale. And I think hot dogs have been given a bad rap, to tell you the truth.
No.
We've said this before. I think the Hebrew Nationals are the best. They're so tasty.
Well,
and any Polish sausage.
Someday, when I have nothing to do between midnight and 4 a.m., I'm going to open up the Dove dog stand.
Oh, here we go again. Built on the back of a manufactured Airstream.
Airstream, yeah, turned into a little hot dog stand. Yeah, there you go.
I like it.
Okay.
I mean, it would be highly identifiable when you're going down the road. If you see an Airstream, you don't see that many of them. And you'd know, I got to follow that because, first of all, it smells so good.
Yeah.
You could have the fumes of hot dogs coming out the back end.
Yeah,
and then wherever you park, there you are.
Yeah, we'd have the Dove dogs and Steve Johnson coffee.
That would be great. We could make a little compound.
Yeah.
A little circular kind of a thing. Put out some picnic tables.
Yeah, until you get caught and then you pick it up and move to the next place.
That's why you're so mobile. I didn't get the license for the restaurant, so you got to be ready to leave at a moment's notice.
Go for forgiveness, not permission.
You know what I like, and it reminds me of this. I don't know if you remember this. I think we talked about this a long time ago. The Pullman train cars. They had the Pullman restaurants and the Pullman pies. They were terrific. It was kind of difficult, I think, for the waiters and waitresses to kind of walk between it all. But it was kind of neat. You're sitting in a Pullman train car, and you're eating food. It was wonderful. But I think all those have gone by the wayside now. But it was fun.
So you sparked something. There in Tucson, we went to the Gaslight Theater.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's still there with a 50s diner right next to it.
Okay, I thought that was a Pullman car. It's not?
No, it's like an old 50s diner with the aluminum around the top and that. And it's wonderful.
Well, that's what that reminded me of, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, anything else today? That's it? Junk food?
That's about it.
All right, junk food. Well, let your imagination go. Junk it up today. All right, let's check out the weather. Here it is.
Here's a look at your Tuesday weather from Grange Co-op. Across northern Oregon and southern Washington, mostly sunny skies through the region with Vancouver near 96 and Portland 97. Wilsonville turns hot with a high of 100 and McMinnville tops out near 97. Through the Willamette Valley, mostly sunny weather continues with afternoon highs well into the upper 90s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene. Lows tonight cool back into the low to mid-60s. Smoke and haze in central Oregon clearing to sunshine in Prineville near 95, while Bend and Sun River reached the low 90s. Boise remained smoky and partly sunny with a hot afternoon high near 99. Along the Oregon coast, patchy fog gives way to mostly sunny skies with Coos Bay near 72 and Port Orford 70. Brookings turns partly sunny near 54 and Crescent City reaches 64 after patchy fog. Hot in southern Oregon with highs around 100 in Grants Pass and 102 in Medford. Ashland reaches 97 while Klamath Falls turns partly sunny with a high of 91. Across Northern California, heat continues in Wairika near 96, Redding 199 in Chico. Fort Bragg stays much cooler with mostly sunny skies and a high of 62. Around the Bay Area, a slight chance of showers gives way to sunshine and 88 in Santa Rosa, Napa 89, San Francisco 78, and San Jose 91. Overnight lows fall into the upper 50s to mid-60s. Across Central California, more hot weather in Sacramento, Stockton the Modesto reaching 97, Fresno, Visalia, and Bakersfield climb to 100 with heat advisories through the region. That's a snapshot of today's weather from Grange Co-op.
All right, there's a picture of our backyard, and you can see the high clouds, a little bit of smoke between the clouds and the mountaintop, some of it down to the valley floor, but nothing like we had yesterday. So we'll keep an eye on it. They're saying now that we may not get as hot as we originally forecasted because of the cloud cover, but we'll see. We'll see how that all turns out. All right.
That's all very good news. Dr. Anthony George, a guy that we've had on the Dove, well, quite often, actually.
I like
He looks at a verse that we're all kind of familiar with, John 3:16, as well as one we're not that familiar with, and that is Genesis 17:7. How are these combined? Here he goes.
But also between me and your descendants, God and the offspring of Abraham, after you, in their generations, for what kind of covenant? Say it out loud. Everlasting covenant, to be God to you and to your descendants after you. Also, I give to you and to whom? Your descendants after you. What does God say He's giving them? Say it out loud. The land in which you are a stranger, meaning somebody else lived there even then. And God was going to uproot them and make it the land of the Jewish people. That's the big claim now, is the Jewish people are colonizers and they're old stolen land. Hey, when God gives it to you, it's not stolen. Amen. It's called a gift. And all the land of Canaan as what kind of a possession? An everlasting possession, and I will be their God. The people who have fallen prey to what is called replacement theology believe that the church has replaced Israel and God is done with Israel, no longer has any plan or purpose for them. And when we read this, it says it's an everlasting covenant. He's giving them the land as an everlasting possession. Now, we Christians, especially those who throw this out, they love the everlasting in John 3:16, for God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whoever believes in Him should not perish but have they like that everlasting, but what do you do with this everlasting? You can't hold on to everlasting in John 3:16 and throw out everlasting in Genesis 17. You can't, God doesn't give you the right to pick and choose.
There's the connection.
Finally, he got to it, because I was wondering, where's he going to go with John 3:16? But there you have it.
Well, you know, it's interesting, this replacement theology. I'm going to do some shows on it, and the only I really wrestle as to whether or not to do it, because it's highly controversial, and
I think you should do it. I think it needs to be done.
Thank
you got my vote, Perry.
Thank you, Steve.
My thumb is right here. I'm giving you a thumbs up.
That's one. Well, anyway, it's controversial, but I am surprised from the perspective and the position being here. I'm more than surprised. I think I'm borderline shocked of how many Christians have bought into the replacement theology. And then to listen to them to try to explain it, I'm thinking, wow, according to Dr. George's little exercise there, you would have to totally disregard the Old Testament.
Well, and you know, there's another aspect about it. I think there are some Christians who would just as soon say, oh, the Old Testament, I can't relate to that because God was so angry and He's so loving in the New Testament. It's like you have to look at it as a whole. They're both compatible and they rely on each other. To discount the Old Testament, I think that's dangerous.
One thing our pastor does, plug him a little bit here. I won't tell you who it is, but I'll tell you what he does.
Okay.
Before he preaches out of the New Testament, he has one of the other pastors read from the Old Testament correspondence to that before he preaches. And then he'll reverse that. If he's preaching out of the Old Testament, he'll have somebody read the corresponding story in the New Testament. When you see this, how in the world can you separate these two?
Right. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
In fact, in the old Anglican Church, they used to have Old Testament readings and New Testament readings.
Right.
And it showed that it was tied in. That went on for, I think, centuries. And somehow we've gotten away from that, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. All right, good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. Let's take a look at some of the top stories. The big story is, well, quite a few out there this morning. But the escalation of the war in Iran continues to rise. The president basically has said to the Iranian guard over there, since you have killed 2 Americans with your missiles into Jordan, and one is still missing, that the response will be far greater than you ever expected. And such is the case. Now they're starting to not only continue to take out military sites, the president is giving serious thought about taking out infrastructure, power plants, bridges, things like that. They say that the guard has been greatly weakened, but they still lob missiles here and there. There's still a desire to denuke them. That is somewhat controversial how they're going to do that. And the oil, I guess, is flowing through the strait, but you wouldn't notice it at the pump today.
Yeah.
So, and then I guess they're looking at taking on the island. They're in the strait.
Karg Island, yeah.
Karg Island.
And there are rumors, it's not confirmed, that possibly the current Ayatollah has left the country. So you have a complete potential meltdown there between the civilian population, leaders, and the military.
Well, there was a time early on when this war was in the beginning stages. It hadn't quite engaged yet, but it was the rumors that America was going to attack because we were moving all the assets in there and everything. Yeah. That millions upon millions of dollars was being transferred out of the country by the leaders into other countries. So it could be now that follow the money, so to speak. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. All right. The other thing is you know, Senator Graham passed away suddenly and unexpectedly. Apparently, his memorial has been delayed a little bit, but he will lie in state at the nation's capital. In the meantime, the governor of South Carolina has appointed his sister to be the sitting senator until the end of the term. But one of the names that popped up was Nancy Mace out of the House, apparently from South Carolina, was one of the top people to be considered for the race. She has basically said, no, she will not run. She's not going to do it. So that opens the door. In the meantime, now Senator Darlene Graham, I guess she was on Fox last night with Sean?
Yeah, she talked to Sean Hannity and announced she's in it for the long haul.
I'll continue to say I've been praying a lot, talking to my family, but with the love of my family, with the support of his staff. I know I'm a hard worker. I learned that from Lindsay. He cared about the people of this state. I've worked for almost 30 years for the people of this state.
I want to talk about that in a minute.
I feel like I can do it. I feel an inner peace about it. Will it be difficult? Yes, absolutely.
So you're inclined to get in, or have you even made a final decision?
I've made a decision.
You're in.
I'm in.
Okay, the president apparently likes this idea. Hasn't come out with a full-blown endorsement yet. We'll see what happens. Other people are thinking about it. Other people are being pressured into do it. They're going to have a special Republican primary in the state of South Carolina on August 9th. And the winner of that will go on to face the Democrat in November. If there's 2 people and they don't get 51%, they'll do that runoff on August 19th. Very complicated, but that is the procedure. In that interview, she made it pretty well known that she would be more interested in the domestic issues than the foreign relation issues. She kind of said, I don't understand why my brother Lindsay was spent so much time on national security and foreign policy. My interest is more domestic. That could have been a mistake for her by saying that. Not that either one is more important than the other. It's just that that just shows you a little bit of experience goes a long ways. You want to be all things to all people when you're campaigning. So we'll see what this is going to do.
Yeah, and you're right. He was a person on international front, that's for sure.
Yeah. In the meantime, I will say one thing. I track this. A lot of people don't, but I'll just throw it out there. The RNC, the Republican National Committee, I was a member of that at one time, has raised a lot of money, $16 million just in the last couple of weeks. And if you look at the grand totals, these are cumulative totals of the Republican National Committee between the Senatorial Committee, the House, and just the RNC doing its fundraising. Today they're sitting on $151,925,000. Okay, the Democrats today are sitting on $77,756 777 million, 756,000, and they have a $16 million debt. This is huge. So there sits the Republicans with 152 million, no debt. The Democrats are sitting there with 77 million and still $16 million in debt. That's as of a couple of days ago. So those are interesting numbers, to say the least.
And it's kind of the amount of a moderately successful movie.
Well, okay, we'll go with that. That's good. Have another cup, Steve. You're getting pretty good out there.
I think I will, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe they should go in the movie business. And
there we go. All right, one other quick thing. The Senate, apparently the Republicans in the Senate are increasingly open to trying President Donald Trump's election integrity agenda, trying to get what they call the SAVE Act to go to a vote and possibly do a shutdown fight over it. So we'll see what happens. Congress avoids shutdown before September 30th for funding deadlines. In other words, put the SAFE Act in the funding bill. Here we go again. And so apparently they're willing to fight to get it. Now, that is a little bit of a change of action from what we've seen in the past. So we have 5 senators, 5 Republicans that don't get it. So.
Yeah, maybe they'll be able to pass it this time.
There you go.
But we also had an act of violence in New York City yesterday, and this was in front of the building where they have ice. It's the ice court, so to speak.
Yeah.
And there was an individual who set off some. It wasn't explosives, but it was incendiary. So it was something that caught on fire right in front. And what's interesting is this another act of an American who just doesn't like ice, and so now they're willing to, I don't know, make some sort of a statement or burn the building down. Andrew Arabaka was a mechanic on Patriot missile systems, and he's now in custody after he set off what they called were fireworks, that kind of thing. He lit a fire, fired a pellet gun in front of the building, and all the rest in that. And officials say the suspect came supplied for a fight.
He had 2 axes, a hammer, a machete, and 3 knives, fixed blade knives. He had, as I said earlier, 6 incendiary devices or fireworks, and he had some other destructive items.
Going to be facing charges on that. So we've got violence going on there. We also have an interesting action that I think we'll all be interested to follow. Can a mayor of a city arrest the head of another country? I mean, that's really what it comes down to, with Zoran Mandami saying, yes, if Benjamin Netanyahu comes to the UN meeting, which, of course, the UN is in New York City, kind of. I mean, it's its own, where the actual UN building is not part of the city, but you have to fly into the city. If he's there, he's going to arrest him. At least he's going to be looking at the idea of arresting him, according to an interview he had with the New York Times.
Look, I believe that Prime Minister Netanyahu belongs in The Hague. He's a war criminal who has been charged by the International Criminal Court. And what you will find is that is an opinion that is held by many purely because of what his actions have wrought over these last many years. I've also said that I will follow the laws that we have here in New York City because I believe that there's an importance in following the law as a leader who presides over our city, and that's something that I plan to do.
Meaning? I'm sorry, I don't understand what that means.
Meaning that whatever the law allows me to do in New York City, that's what we will do, but we won't be writing our own laws to that end.
Well, the president has responded to that, saying, you know what, Benjamin Netanyahu won't be arrested in any way while he's in the United States. And he goes on to talk about what Netanyahu has done to prevent lives and all the rest. So we've got a potential battle that is being posed at this point, but we'll see what happens there. You know, the ICC, the International Criminal Court, has very little credibility. The United States does not recognize it. Israel doesn't. And so it has, the fact that they've said somebody is guilty of something or other really doesn't matter, and certainly not in the United States. But the thing that concerns me, Perry, this is the head of one of the biggest cities, most important cities in the United States, making these kinds of comments. At what point will the voters in New York City say, this has gone too far. This guy's unhinged, and something needs to happen where we need to replace him or something else. As far as
the ICC,
get somebody to vote.
The ICC, the ICC is kind of like a self-imposed court. I mean, who gave them the authority? They're just a bunch of people that want authority, and they think they're international. They're crazy. The other thing is, can I ask a simple question? What does arresting a head of state in New York City have anything to do to make your city better?
Oh, it's a statement, clearly. It's a political statement.
But
pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel, it's anti-Semitic, and all the rest.
What does that have to do to make your city better? I mean, he's supposed to be running a city. He's got crime out of place. He's got bombs going off in the streets. He's got cost of living going through the roof. I mean, this is... What does Netanyahu have to do to make living in New York City better?
Well, look at Portland and Seattle from just a few years ago. You had mayors who were not doing what they should have to enforce the laws and siding, so it seemed, with the criminals. So,
I don't
know. You're trying to make logic out of an illogical situation.
I'm sorry. I'm guilty.
What do you think you're doing? It's Tuesday. It's Junk Food Day, and you're trying to make sense of all this.
I apologize for using logic. All right, we'll be right back. Hello everyone, Perry Atkinson here. I'm coming to you with some very exciting news. We are upgrading our radio and podcast studio so that we can serve you better, and we are so close to the finish line. To push us over, we just need $19,495 for the final equipment. Would you prayerfully consider a special summertime gift today? As always, please prayerfully seek the Lord's leading as you consider supporting the Dove, and only do what the Lord puts on your heart. And please don't take from your church or any other ministry that He has you involved in. We want His blessing on every gift. Call anytime, 541-776-5368, or go online safely and securely at the Dove's new website at theDove.us. And thank you. Thank you for praying for and supporting the mission of the Dove.
Here's that number again, 541-776-5368, or online at theDove.us. The Dove, encouraging and informative. Jerry's Historical Archives. U.S. history. Great moments in time. Record breakers. Our music through the years. Historic leaders. Moments to remember. Go back in time. Back in the day. TV shows of the past. Nostalgia.
It's a wonderful trip down memory lane with fun and interesting stories you might not know about. Relive the past and learn something new.
Open up Jerry's Historical Archives, weekdays only on Mornings on the Dove.
Okay, 24 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Stephen Perry with you this morning. Let me give you a little bit of a backyard update on the fires. This is an amazing thing that's going on in the state of Oregon. Over 200,000 acres are burning in our beautiful state, and it is quite alarming. I'll just give you a brief rundown of what's going on. And we are running thin on crews that can fight these wildfires. They're being dispatched all over the place. We only have so many airplanes and so many bulldozers and so many fire trucks and all of those things that go on in crews. Fortunately, we're getting help from other states, which we are thankful for, but it is a critical situation. Our own backyard fire, the East Evans Creek fire, is now 15,618 acres, but it has jumped to 17% containment. They are holding a lot of the lines there, and that is good. This overcast is helping a little bit. But we never know what the winds are going to do. The Roe Creek Complex fire. Now, this is a huge one, and it takes in several counties. Wheeler, Wasco, and Jefferson County are all being impacted by this one. 142,936 acres on that one.
Wow.
5% contained. The the Brewer Fire, Crook and Jefferson County, 24,406 acres, no containment on that fire. And they call the Hay Creek Complex Fire, 92,000 plus acres, 27% contained, impacting Gilliam, Wasco, and Sherman counties. So a lot of these are out on the east side of the Cascades. Very, very bad situation out there. The big one right here just north of us, the smoke moves around. Yesterday we couldn't see across the street. Today it's nice, but that could change overnight. The only thing I can say is pray for these people. They are tired. They're working hard. It's a very dangerous job, and the resources, we need them. So that's kind of an update on what's happening with the fires. All right, let's take a look at Wall Street this morning. Thank you, Preston, with Smart Lawn to help us bring you that report. We thank him for that. The Dow jumped back up to 177 points this morning at 52,000. Wow. The Nas is up 228, not bad. And the S&P jumped up 39.5 points. So some big red ink there this morning. Not sure what's driving that. The gold's back up over 4,000. That's good. Silver's on its way back up a little bit, $58.86 an ounce, and crude oil really has jumped up another $4 actually. $91.42 a barrel. Here we go with high gas prices again. Wow.
Yeah. Well, it's time to stretch our brains a little bit and be ready to answer about the faith that we hold dear. Because you don't want to be caught like a deer in the headlights. And I think we all have a concern about that because we know what we believe. But if somebody were to ask you, are you going to have an answer? Well, this might stimulate you a little bit to have an answer. Peter Atkins and John Lennox, they're on kind of a, I don't know, Perry, would you call it a speaking tour together? They have appeared in a lot of places.
Yeah, they you know, there was a couple guys here in Oregon and California that did this. One was Calvinist and the other one was Armenian, and they would go at it, you know. So these guys...
All right, well, they were both Christians anyway.
Yeah, that was interesting. This one is a non-believer with a believer. Yeah.
That's right. You have Peter Atkins, who's a chemistry professor and an atheist, avowed. That's what he says he is. And John Lennox, who's a Christian and a professor of mathematics. And they started talking. This is just a small part of what was like an hour or so of a video about the existence of God. And here's how that discussion went.
Presumably, you think that if there was absolutely nothing and it turned into absolutely something, that there was an agent involved in causing that. Is that the creation?
I wouldn't quite put it that way.
I
would say that the universe comes from nothing physical, but it doesn't come from nothing. God is not nothing. In fact, we get the whole thing upside down. We tend to think, partly because of the way we're educated in terms of science, that mass energy and material is the basic stuff of the universe. Of course, now we've come down to nothing being the basic stuff. I would want to say about that is, I don't believe it. But secondly, God is not physical. God is spirit. And the fundamental stuff in the universe is mind and spirit. It's not material. So then, if I could finish, the universe comes from nothing physical. But it doesn't come from nothing. It comes from God who created it. Let there be light, and there was light. And so that is my position.
And that's not a position which you believe conflicts with the science we do know of, the Big Bang?
Not at all. The Big Bang is wonderful because it simply tells us there was a beginning. And science caught up from the Bible, with the Bible in the 1960s. Because science was tied to Aristotle for centuries, believing that there was an eternal universe. Now we believe in a beginning. Whether you mean a beginning of the multiverse or the universe, it doesn't really matter, because the latest mathematical theorems by Guth, the man I just mentioned, Vilenkin and Borde, say that there is an absolute beginning. So the Bible has said it for centuries.
I'd love to hear the end of that. You know.
And that conversation went on, but fascinating, really, I think.
So at the end of the day, what little that would reveal, that if there was a beginning, who started the beginning, or what started the beginning?
And the whole aspect of what is nothing. And we tend to think, well, God has to be physically something without being apart from time, and that we are kind of, we have to be in time, deal with here's a beginning, here's an end, and he is outside of that. That's a hard thing to comprehend. And yet, that's kind of what he was talking about, is that he said, let there be light, and there was light, and time began, and that's the only concept we have of that. How can we think of a being outside of it? Well, that's where God comes into play.
Well, it is. Eyes not seen, ears not heard, neither is it entered the heart of man the things that God has prepared for those that love him. So heaven is beyond our ability to comprehend. Eternity.
I think when we talk about streets of gold, it's the only thing we can put it into some form we can understand.
Yeah, eternity is hard to comprehend.
Yeah.
So
I have a hard time thinking of the next 5 minutes.
Well, there you go. Where are we? What are we doing? Oh, it's time for us to move on. We'll be right back.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free, and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox. Air is life. Make it perfect.
Being in business is challenging. At Network in Action Southern Oregon, we're all about real connection and real growth. We value your time with once-a-month meetings and believe in transformational relationships rather than transactional ones. We have 3 groups in the Valley, a Christian group, a Medford group, and a Grants Pass group, all filled with amazing local professionals. Network in Action Southern Oregon, so much more than just networking. Find out more at sonetworking.com.
There may have never been another time in history when end times prophecy has been more aligned with the culture and circumstances of the world than it is today. I believe there are 10 phenomena we are witnessing today that were recorded centuries ago in Bible prophecy.
Join Dr. David Jeremiah in his series, Where Do We Go From Here? On the next episode of Turning Point, right here on this station.
Weekends on the Dove TV.
Welcome back. 27 minutes before the hour. Stephen Perry here. Well, I think it's pretty obvious the situation with Iran has completely changed from memorandums of understanding to we're going to meet in Pakistan to we're going to have a kumbaya moment, and boy, they really want to make a deal, and we're on top of this. All that's now set aside, and we're back to a full-blown escalation. So let's check in with CBN News, and Peter Petit had the latest on what's going on there.
The war shows no signs of letting up as Iran responds to U.S. strikes with missile attacks across the region, setting off air raid sirens in Jordan overnight. The Pentagon has identified 2 U.S. soldiers killed by an Iranian missile that hit an American airbase in Jordan. First Lieutenant Tyler Feehan from Hawaii and 19-year-old Private Isabella Gonzalez of Carrollton, Texas.
And our hearts go out to his family. These are heroes that pay the ultimate price.
Iranian attacks also left nearly 100 U.S. service members injured since early July, most suffering concussions or minor wounds. The Pentagon says 96% of them have returned to duty.
Nothing the military does was safe. It's all inherently dangerous, and we're just grateful to have such heroic Americans in uniform in the service of our country.
President Trump ordering the Pentagon to kill many times the number of Iranians for every U.S. soldier killed. In Yemen, Iran's Houthi allies are escalating their own threats, announcing a blockade of Saudi oil shipments through the Red Sea. The move threatens another major global oil shipping route as the Strait of Hormuz remains under pressure. Here in Jerusalem, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu convened his security cabinet Monday night in preparation should they enter the war. Netanyahu is also planning to visit Washington following today's expected meeting between President Trump and the president of Lebanon. Trump took to Truth Social Monday to dismiss New York Mayor Zoran Mamdani's threat to arrest Netanyahu should he ever visit New York, writing that an arrest will never happen in any way, shape, or form. Israel's UN ambassador also weighing in.
The person who should be arrested is not our prime minister, is you, Mr. Mamdani.
Pakistan is stepping up its diplomatic efforts, and an Iranian official is in Islamabad meeting with the prime minister. Secretary Rubio says there's still room to talk peace, but the U.S. will not allow Iranian attacks on shipping in the Strait of Hormuz.
And Paul Petit joins us right now with more. Paul, Iran is now calling for a conflict of full-scale war, but their mediators are pushing for a 10-day truce. What is the regime saying?
Yeah, all at the same time here, Ephraim. Iran's president using those words publicly, a full-scale war with the United States, and says that the U.S. must accept the consequences of their resistance. Now, at the same time, regional mediators have proposed a 10-day ceasefire to try to revive last month's interim agreement between Washington and Tehran. Now, officials say the fact that Iran is even proposing an initiative shows how desperately they want a ceasefire right now. According to sources, the purpose of the ceasefire proposal is to find a solution around the Strait of Hormuz, which Secretary Rubio says Iran ignored, which has triggered the latest escalation, according to him. Now, the big question here today is whether Iran's actions will match its words, because as you just saw, even as ceasefire talks continue here, missiles and drones are still being launched across the region. Ephraim.
A new Wall Street Journal report says Iran has moved nuclear centrifuges to the mountains and underground. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, very interesting report. The Wall Street Journal saying that the intelligence network of Israel believes Iran moved thousands of these nuclear centrifuges into an underground facility inside a mountain. The move would make the nuclear equipment much harder to destroy, even with some of America's most powerful bunker-busting munitions. Now, if this is in fact true, it would show Iran anticipated additional strikes and is taking steps to preserve its nuclear program during the war. Now, this also complicates any future diplomatic agreement because Iran may now have a more survivable nuclear infrastructure than we had previously thought. Now, what we know about the American soldiers, that's what we're going to go to next. Ephraim.
What do we know about the 2 American soldiers killed by Iranian missiles in Jordan?
Always a tragedy, right? They were killed when an Iranian missile struck a housing facility at an American air base in Jordan, where service members there sleep and they rest. Lieutenant Feehan was 25 years old from Iwa Beach, Hawaii. Private Gonzalez, again, only 19 years old here. That attack marked one of the most deadliest single incidents for U.S. troops since this phase of the war began earlier this month. Now, as mentioned, the Pentagon says nearly 100 other U.S. service members have been injured in Iranian attacks since July 7th, but mostly minor injuries. Ephraim, back to you.
What else has President Trump said about Iran retaliation for the soldiers and Mamdani's threats against Netanyahu?
Yeah, war of words, right? President Trump said that he ordered the Pentagon to kill many times the number of Iranians for every American service member killed in the conflict, as you heard in my story. Trump also made it clear that any future attacks on U.S. troops will be met with overwhelming force. Now, on Netanyahu's upcoming visit to the United States, Trump dismissed Mamdani's threat to arrest the Israeli prime minister, as you heard, if he happens to visit New York, which he's expected to at the United Nations. Trump posted on Truth Social that such an arrest will never happen any way, any shape, any form. In fact, he called Netanyahu a great hero who's fought for the survival of Israel up to this point.
Well, we'll see, huh? I can't imagine the security he'll be under as he comes to town.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty interesting. All right, let's check out the weather. Pretty interesting out there. Let's take a look at it.
Here's a look at your Tuesday weather from Grange Co-op. Across northern Oregon and southern Washington, mostly sunny skies through the region with Vancouver near 96 and Portland 97. Wilsonville turns hot with a high of 100 and McMinnville tops out near 97. Through the Willamette Valley, mostly sunny weather continues with afternoon highs well into the upper 90s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene. Lows tonight cool back into the low to mid-60s. Smoke and haze in central Oregon, clearing to sunshine in Prineville near 95, while Bend and Sun River reached the low 90s. Boise remained smoky and partly sunny with a hot afternoon high near 99. Along the Oregon coast, patchy fog gives way to mostly sunny skies with Coos Bay near 72 and Port Orford 70. Brookings turns partly sunny near 54 and Crescent City reaches 64 after patchy fog. Hot in southern Oregon with highs around 100 in Grants Pass and 102 in Medford. Ashland reaches 97 while Klamath Falls turns partly sunny with a high of 91. Across northern California, heat continues in Wairika near 96, Redding 199 in Chico. Fort Bragg stays much cooler with mostly sunny skies and a high of 62. Around the Bay Area, a slight chance of showers gets way to sunshine and 88 in Santa Rosa, Napa 89, San Francisco 78, and San Jose 91. Overnight lows fall into the upper 50s to mid-60s. Across central California, more hot weather in Sacramento, Stockton the Modesto reaching 97, Fresno, Visalia, and Bakersfield climb to 100 with heat advisories through the region. That's a snapshot of today's weather from Grange Co-op.
Oh, yes, Jerry's historical moment. Yes, well, I tell you, there's an old saying in real estate. Location, location, location. That's
True.
Everything. Such is the case on this piece of grass in downtown. Well, take a look.
On July 21, 1853, New York State set aside more than 750 acres in the heart of Manhattan to create what would become Central Park. At the time, some questioned giving up what might become valuable land in a growing city, but the decision proved remarkably far-sighted. Today, the park welcomes more than 40 million visitors each year, providing city residents with lakes, trails, meadows, and a welcome escape from the surrounding skyscrapers. If that same land were open for commercial development today, experts estimate it would be worth tens of billions of dollars, making it some of the most valuable real estate on Earth. Instead, for more than 170 years, Central Park has remained one of New York City's greatest treasures, proving that not every priceless investment comes with a price tag.
If you have an apartment to look down on it, that's pretty pricey too, you know.
Just the view.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, a good time to visit that is in the fall when it's in full color. Absolutely.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, before the leaves fall. Well, that's like Lithia Park.
Yeah, exactly.
I happened to be there one fall where there had been no wind, the leaves were still all on the trees, and the grass was green. And it looked fake. It looked like I photoshopped the pictures. but no leaves had fallen, so you had this contrast, and you go, wow, this weekend, this is a Saturday, it's not going to be like this tomorrow.
No.
I mean, those leaves have to fall.
There you go.
And it was beautiful. I'll see if I can find that sometime.
All right.
Show that to you. Well, a little bit of history is something that is very beneficial for all of us. We shouldn't forget it. And this isn't really that long ago. For some people, it would seem to be. But World War II, during a period of forced labor in the area of Bosnia and Herzegovina, a Holocaust survivor, her name is Marion Horn, remembers this is when she was very young. It was a small act of humanity by Italian soldiers, and one in particular. And she gave her recounting of this on the USC Shoah Foundation's website back in 1995.
They had about 10 machine guns pointed at us. We have instructions. The Italians are taking over the territory. We cannot take you with us, and we cannot let you free. And we have instructions that we have to kill you all. If you were making a Hollywood movie, it couldn't have been any more effective. And suddenly we heard motors roaring. And they were really positioning the machine guns. They were going to just, raze us down. And they had promised that it was going to be quick. The motors kept coming closer and closer, and it was heavy tanks and trucks, and it was the Italian troops that were taking over. And the first Italians coming into the area said to the Germans, what is going on here? And they said, well, we're leaving, and we have orders. We can't leave these people. And they said, well, just don't worry about it. You just leave, and we'll worry about it. We'll take care of them. So the Germans packed up on their trucks and left. And there was one truck that was marked Cucina. There was the army cook. I remember going over to the truck. There was a little Italian soldier. I said to him, "Ma abbiamo così fame. We are so hungry." This is, I think, only a 10-year-old, 9-year-old child. And he looked at me, mushed up my hair, and he said, "Little one, I'm going to make you spaghetti." And he took a laundry bin, and he boiled spaghetti for everybody. It was the most unbelievable thing. When you have that experience, and then the contrast, I don't know if I'm expressing, it was just unbelievable. They were so kind. They were so apologetic. They were so sorry about what had happened. They said, "We don't have the authority to let you people free, but we're not going to kill you."
Simple act of humanity amid wartime. Amazing.
And to live to tell the story.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
All right, we'll be right back.
But your love, the only thing that matters is your love, your love. That's all I have to give. Your love.
How can I grow spiritually? It's one of the most meaningful questions we can ask, and you're not alone in asking it. Over the years, 5 simple but powerful keys have helped countless people deepen their faith. 1, rediscover the Bible. Let God's Word speak to you in new and fresh ways. 2, restart your prayer life. Even small, consistent steps make a big difference. 3, reconnect with God's people. We truly are better together. 4, resist your sinful habits. Grace is always greater and change is possible. And 5, invest in others. This might just be the most life-giving one of all. God has a place for you to serve and people He's specifically placed in your path. So here's a loving nudge. Don't just sit back and soak up another sermon. Take what you've learned and start living it out. When you pray for and support the Dove, you're stepping into something bigger than you might realize. You become a media missionary right alongside us, carrying hope and encouragement into thousands of homes every single hour, in your own backyard and literally around the world. Your generous support keeps the Dove on the air and actively spreads the gospel far and wide. We are so grateful for every partner who makes that possible. Would you prayerfully consider a special summertime gift today? Summers are always a little challenging for us, and your support would mean a lot. You can give anytime by calling 541-776-5368 or safely and securely at our new website, theDove.us. Thank you so much for your partnership. Together, we really are changing lives for good and pointing people to the Lord every single day.
Okay, welcome back. A lot going on here. Recently, I had Chris Mitchell on the air. Always great to have him. We Skyped him in yesterday live from Jerusalem and asked him about the people there. Where is all that's happening in Israel? How does he look at it prophetically? And here's what he had to say.
You know, things are developing, Perry. One of the things in this series that I mentioned is the things that are happening prophetically here in Jerusalem. One of them is in Zechariah, and it's not maybe a prophecy that many people would think about, but Zechariah prophesied that one day there would be old men and old women in Jerusalem. There would be children playing in its streets. It's happening right now. There's actually a boys' yeshivas, one of their sort of grammar schools, that has that prophecy from Zechariah etched into the wall. So that's happening. The Jewish people are coming back to the land of Israel, and I think there'll be more coming because of the rise of anti-Semitism. We are seeing that being fulfilled. Almost every Jewish prophet, except I believe Jonah, prophesied that the Jewish people would return. We're seeing that, and many other things. And I think this rise of Turkey seems prophetic as well. We see these geopolitical tectonic plates shifting in the region, and it looks like perhaps we're seeing the foreshadowing of the Ezekiel war in Ezekiel 38 and 39. So certainly a time to be watching, praying, keeping our eyes on the headlines and on the Bible, and to be watchmen on the walls of Jerusalem. As it says in chapter 62, to give the Lord no rest till he makes Jerusalem a praise in all the earth, and that'll be a praise in all the earth when he returns.
Well, a big amen to that. You know, he brought Turkey into the picture. Turkey is pretty slippery these days. Here's a hypothetical question, but it may be real. Okay. What if Turkey attacks Israel?
I was wondering about that because Turkey is a NATO country.
It's a NATO country, and what do you do with that? Would that turn all NATO nations against Israel? Would that be prophetic?
Oh, boy.
I mean,
I think a lot of people have wondered, why did we ever have Turkey in as a NATO country anyway?
Well, and to think you can befriend these people. I mean, yeah. It's pretty amazing, but
Erdogan is not a nice guy. Let's just be blunt about it.
No, he's not. I don't know what President Trump was thinking, that somehow he could sway the guy, put him in a suit and bring him to the White House and pat him on the shoulder. What did that gain?
Well, I don't think it gained anything. I think he tried, though.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think that's the point. He's going to go down, well, I tried, but it didn't work. So it's been a while since we've had Jonathan Feldstein on. He's the president and the founder of the Genesis 123 Foundation. We'll talk to him live from Israel today and get his take. Pretty interesting guy to talk to. And I have to say this sad news that we received over the weekend, that our good friend Dr. Tim Murphy, he former congressman, and he is the author of the book called The Christ Cure, very suddenly and unexpectedly passed away over the weekend. I'm going to play the very first time I interviewed him, which was back in May of 2023. And our condolences and prayers go out to his family. So.
Yeah. Well, if you are in your retirement or you're thinking about it, are you planning on being a hero? Here's a guy who is a hero.
Some heroes don't wear scrubs. They simply offer a comforting embrace. For the past 8 years, 73-year-old Dave Whitlow has volunteered as a baby cuddler in the neonatal intensive care unit at Children's Hospital of Richmond. Twice a week, he gently holds premature and critically ill newborns, giving nurses an extra set of caring hands and babies the comfort of human touch. Before returning each infant to their bed, he whispers the same heartfelt blessing: grow strong, grow smart, grow kind. Whitlow says it's the best job he's ever had, proving that sometimes the most powerful medicine isn't found in a bottle, it's found in simple acts of love and compassion.
Isn't that wonderful?
That's amazing.
It just shows if you make yourself available, you can be used just about anywhere in any way, you know.
Who would have thought of doing this? I imagine he didn't, but the opportunity made itself available and he grabbed onto it.
Well, it reminds me, our good friend Kevin Lamson, he heads up Hearts with a Mission, and they started a new outreach with Hearts with a Mission, and that is they find elderly people that literally are all alone. And they will arrange people to go in and befriend them and just sit there and talk to them. If they have to run an errand, they run an errand for them. And it's turned out to be a huge success.
That's great.
I don't think we realize how many people are lonely, that are all alone and have been forgotten by family and friends and churches that have forgotten them. So make yourself available. I think if you understand that somebody really needs you to be just a friend today, it goes a long way. Listen to
Remember,
them. Yeah.
Pastor Chad McComas said that too.
Yeah.
He ran into a lot of people like that.
Down here at the Joy Community. So, well, anyway, listen. Don't give statements. Listen and ask questions and let them talk. All right, take with you Romans 10:17. Then faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the Word of God. That's why you should be in church. You need to hear what God is saying through the pastor every Sunday. There's a picture of our backyard. Be careful out there today.
I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
When life feels heavy, your body feels it, your mind feels it. That is why I created Organic Elements Wellness Spa, a place where wellness is not a luxury, it's a way of life. Step into our wellness lounge with a Himalayan salt room, infrared sauna, steam room, and invigorating cold plunge. Restore your nervous system, detox your body, and clear your mind. Then experience customized massage, advanced skin therapies, and result-driven facials, all designed to help you look as good as you feel. There's nothing else like this in Southern Oregon. This is your space to heal, to reset, to glow. Call today to book your private wellness party for up to 15 guests or surprise someone special with a gift certificate.
Visit Organic Elements Wellness Spa on East Main Street in Medford. Book online at organicelementspa.com. Wellness is wholeness. Voted best of Southern Oregon. Pastor Jack Hibbs, championing religious liberty, a deep love of God, freedom, and America.
That liberty is God-given, not government-granted.
You may have seen him in the news during COVID as he pushed back against government-mandated church closures. Now you can see him on the Dove TV every weekend on Real Life with Jack Hibbs.
You and I cannot afford to be casual about what God has actually said in His Word regarding the future.
Learn, grow in your faith, and impact the world with authentic biblical teaching.
The Bible warns us to avoid private interpretations.
Jack challenges today's generation to understand and practice a biblical worldview, verse by verse, addressing key cultural and daily life issues. Deepen your walk with Christ to make an effective impact on your world. Don't miss Real Life with Jack Hibbs, Sundays at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. on the Dove TV. Don't miss Real Life with Pastor Jack Hibbs, Sunday at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. on the Dove TV.
Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and it's been quite a while and always a joy when we have time to sit down with Jonathan Feldstein. He's the president of the Genesis 123 Foundation. whose mission is to build bridges between Jews and Christians. He's the host of the Inspiration from Zion podcast and the author of the book called Israel the Miracle. And he's working with Christian leaders all over the world to realize true peace in Gaza, and details which can be found at the Solutions peaceingaza.com website. There's a picture of the cover of the book. You can go to that website, which is solutionsforpeaceingaza.com, or genesis123.co. Got that? It's not com, just genesis123.co. Okay? Jonathan, my friend, how are you, buddy? Good to see you.
I am good today because I get to visit with you. How are you?
Hey, you're the man. Good to see you. Been a while. You okay over there?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm not over there. I'm in the central time zone in Dallas at the moment.
Oh, well, welcome here. I think of you often with all the things going on over there. What's your 30,000-foot view of the Middle East these days?
It's first of all, I wish I were there because tensions are heating up, and it's not right to not be home with my wife, with my family. It's where I belong, especially at times of conflict or potential conflict. My oldest son, who we've spoken about a lot, was called up again. This is his fourth or fifth round of reserve duty since October of 23, and now he's stationed in Lebanon, which is scary because it's the most dangerous front at the moment. Look, I'm praying two things. I'm praying that this job will be completed. I heard your previous segment in terms of Chris Mitchell, who's a dear friend, and also talking about Turkey and Iran. The job needs to be finished, and that might require some sacrifices. But none of us want war, but we want the job to be done, both for our safety. And I'm speaking as an American citizen, as for the well-being of the United States as well, because Iran and Turkey and all of the Islamists have nefarious intentions vis-a-vis our freedom here in this country, and for the Iranian people who were hijacked 47 years ago and have been living under the boot of this radical Islamic ideology that's subjugating 92 million people. We want to see it done. Sadly, that will continue to see sacrifice, as we saw for American soldiers this week. And I'm in the Dallas area. I'm trying to find the family of the soldier who was killed from here so I can go and pay a condolence visit because it's important.
Well, you bring up so many things. Let's kind of unpack these a little bit. I realize Iran and all that. I want to get to Lebanon, but I want to go to Gaza, just back to Gaza for a moment. I understand that Israel is slowly taking over more land there, but it's not finished. How do you look at that?
It's not finished, and it's on the back burner right now, it seems, because that's the least threatening front at the moment. But Hamas, the amount of territory that Israel controls, I think, is less significant than who controls the remainder of it, and that's Hamas. And Hamas, it's not just a terrorist organization, but a terrorist ideology. And I'm glad, and I'm always grateful that you mentioned the very radical idea promoted by your Orthodox Jewish friend at solutionforpeaceingaza.com, that Gaza, basically the only solution for peace is that Gaza and Gazans need to become Christian and have a relationship with the true God, the creator of the universe. Barring that, whether Israel controls 60, 70, 80, 90%, if you still have terrorists controlling Gaza and 2 million Gazans and every thought process and threatening them so they can't even rise up and claim any measure of freedom and independence, then we will continue to see this. And I know we've spoken about it in the past. We will continue to see my grandchildren, who range from 10 months to 7 years, continuing to fight this evil.
Is Hamas slowly gaining? Is it slowly gaining back in that area?
Well, in Gaza, every day that Hamas exists is a gain, whether they lose territory or not, because they retrench, and they retrench not just against us and planning and plotting, and you can be sure that that's happening, but also in terms of threatening the Gazans, 2 million Gazans. Now, many of them are indoctrinated and are on board with the Hamas radical Islamic ideology, and that needs to be purged as well. And I said the ideology, not the people. I believe that, but it's not just Hamas in Gaza. Hamas is an entity that has boundaries or crosses boundaries rather in Judea and Samaria, where I live. We live. I can't wait for you to come to visit my home, and I'll show you in person how close we are. It doesn't take much for Hamas to create another uprising or God forbid, a massacre like they did on October 7th 3 years ago. And Hamas is funded by Qatar and Turkey and protected by Qatar and Turkey still. So yeah, every day that they still have their head up, they continue to be a threat. And I think we've spoken about this in the past, but it's kind of like whack-a-mole, where you can whack them down in one place and they're going to pop up in another place. And that's why it's the ideology that needs to be confronted and defeated.
Who's supplying Hamas, since Iran's been damaged so well?
Well, Iran's been damaged, but Iran hasn't stopped their funding. We see that with the Houthis now threatening to close the Red Sea and take on Saudi Arabia, which is, it's sort of like when the Nazis decided that they would open another front against the Soviets in the Second World War. That was silly, but I guess there's some strategy or obscene ideology behind it. But we also know that Qatar funds Hamas, and Turkey has been providing shelter, cover, diplomatic passports for Hamas leaders. And I was so glad to hear in the previous segment talk about how on earth anyone could have ever thought to let this Islamist nation into NATO and what that might mean, because Islamists have as a goal to destroy Western ideology, destroy what they call infidels, which is us, the Jews, and you, the Christians. So we need to be very vigilant on this, celebrating America's 250th anniversary, going into an important midterm followed by an even more important presidential election in 2 years from now. Hamas is a tentacle of the Iranian proxy, and that's why that's of the Iranian octopus rather, and that's why the Iranian octopus needs to be beheaded. But you got evil entities in Qatar and in Turkey that are very easily prepared to step up and become Iran's understudies to continue to fund and train and protect Hamas and other radical Muslims.
Before I go over to Lebanon and Turkey, do you sense that the Trump administration changed its understanding of the problem and become more aggressive now?
I have a very hard time understanding the strategy of the Trump administration. My belief is that while we're now 10 days into a tit for tat or what we called in Israel during operations in Syria and in Lebanon, mowing the grass, right? The dandelions are still going to pop up, and they're not going to make your beautiful green lawn look silly and covered in weeds. But mowing the grass does not solve the problem. And I don't understand the administration's strategy now, with the exception of believing that the president probably does not want to engage in a full-scale operation until after the midterm. And strategically, that makes sense to me. I would probably do the same, but I would have been more aggressive in February and March, so we wouldn't be in a position where failed negotiations led by the vice president would have brought us to this position where now, 3 months from the midterm, we are still confronting an Islamist state in Iran that doesn't seem to care about any memorandum of understanding.
How do you think most people in Israel handle the fact that the United States has stepped in and really has damaged Iran at an unbelievable level? They got to be thankful for that, but they got to be frustrated that we're not finishing the job. How do you describe that?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I do believe that it's most people, but in Israel who would have that thought process, but I don't know that as a fact. So let's assume it's many, but I do believe it's most. And yes, the job needs to be finished. I was doing a briefing in Nashville the other day, and one of the things talking about this very issue that I said, yes, Israel wants the job to be done. We want the Islamic regime to be finished. And we want that for us, for our own safety, because of the positive trickle down, the tremendous way that will bring us toward the more peace in the world than we've seen since before the Second World War. I believe that. But Israel, I'm so proud to hear so many Israelis talk about the significance of freeing Iran from the Islamists for the Iranian people. And that's real significant as well. Israelis are frustrated. We need the job done. And I'm frustrated personally because it's very sad and it's very frustrating. And to be honest, it's very scary to see my son called up to Lebanon again, having served in Lebanon previously and Syria and Gaza, all in combat. And my son-in-law called up to a new unit. And my youngest son, who we've spoken about, who's doing his compulsory service and has been especially busy these past weeks that I've been traveling here in America. I would like to see, I have a fantasy, and I don't know if it's even a realistic hope anymore, that my 7-year-old grandson, when he turns 18 or 19, won't have to serve. He will have to serve, but hopefully he won't have to come across jihadi peers who invalidate our very existence and strive to kill us.
Wow. So, Lebanon. Do the Lebanese people, I'm confused on this. I can't understand. I mean, I understand that Hezbollah is a problem in Lebanon. But can you trust Lebanon to finish the job?
You can pray. And if anything comes out of this conversation, and I'm really glad you asked the question, Perry, one thing that should come out of this conversation is praying for that. When I lived in America 25 years ago, I was friends with a Lebanese Christian whose name was Sammy. And Sammy always told me how the terrorists in Lebanon, the Islamists, Hezbollah, ruined his life. And he always wanted Israel to go in and finish the job. And I said, you need to do that. You need to go in and you need to line up hundreds of thousands of Lebanese Christians like yourself and maybe come into Israel and get armed and get trained and go take back your own country. But right now, what we have is some kind of arrangement between Israel, the state, and Lebanon, the state, which is not including Hezbollah, which really controls much of Lebanon, that the Lebanese army will go in and begin to demilitarize, which means take out any influence of the radical Islamists. In the case in Lebanon, that's Hezbollah. The problem is twofold. First of all, the Lebanese army is not properly trained to do that, I believe. And second of all, sad to say, but as soon as the Lebanese army is threatened or their families are threatened, it's not a difficult connection between point one and point two to imagine that some aren't going to abandon their positions or flip sides, and we will continue not see again, but continue to see Hezbollah in control of most of southern Lebanon, and in fact, much of the Lebanese parliament. So I pray for it. I really do. It's the best solution. Israel shouldn't have to come in and be the police force for Lebanon, but we need to give the Lebanese army a fair chance, and we need to pray like that's what counts, because it does.
I guess what puts my brain on tilt with that one, Jonathan, I remember when that munitions thing blew up there in Lebanon and it impacted people, and Israelis' response was, let's send everything we can up there to help those people. And they didn't want it. They didn't want your help. They turned it away. And you kind of go, okay, what's really going on up there? And then are we asking the fox in the hen house to chase the other fox away?
That's very, very well said. But this is the fox in the hen house that's already there. It only has 3 legs, so it can't stand up to the other fox that's coming in. And it's a great analogy. And part of the problem in the Middle East in general is that while many countries openly and many more countries quietly will interact with Israel. It became public, for instance, that during the war in March, Israel provided troops and Iron Dome batteries to to the United Arab Emirates. I'm proud of the fact that we did it, and I'm grateful. But the UAE doesn't want to publicize that, because even though that they're a level above most of the Arab countries in terms of their relationships with Israel, you don't go too public with these relations. So I understand why publicly the Lebanese prime minister or president wouldn't want to expose themselves as having a direct relationship or certainly a military relationship with Israel, but that may, to some capacity, barring any kind of miracle, that probably is an inevitability. I would just rather not see my sons and sons-in-law, or in 12 years, my grandson, have to go be responsible for policing Lebanon to keep our northern border free. Enough of that. And I by the way, and I do pray that Lebanon, like Iran, will be freed from under this heel of the heavy evil Islamic boot since the 1980s.
All right, let me take a quick break. Let me say to our viewers and listeners a couple of places. Check out Jonathan's book. I think you'll find it to be fascinating, Israel, the Miracle. There's a picture of the cover of the book. You can get that online. A couple of websites, but his website is genesis123.co, not com, genesis123.co. And the other one we referred to was solutionsforpeaceingaza.com. You may want to check that out. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone. I'm coming to you today with a very exciting need. We are upgrading our radio and podcast studios so that we can serve you better, and we're so close to the finish line. To push us across, we need just $19,495 for the final equipment. Would you prayerfully consider a special summertime gift? As always, only give what the Lord puts on your heart, and please don't take from your church or any other ministry. Thank you. Thank you for believing in, praying for, and supporting the mission of the Dove.
In a time when our culture faces unprecedented challenges,
I want to talk about the role of a Christian even in a hostile culture.
Christian apologist and evangelist Alex McFarland addresses the hard-hitting questions about faith, morality, and culture.
People are hungry for truth, and we've got to rise to the challenge of our assignment as the church.
Know your faith better to be equipped to defend it in a world searching for answers.
But when you put the face of an earthly man on God, then you're never going to understand who God is.
God takes pleasure in you, and the very sight of you is joy and blessing.
Alex McFarland, inspiring believers through apologetics to boldly stand for truth in a critical time. Catch him Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday on the Dove TV, encouraging and informative. More at thedove.us. The world has a view, but God has the vision. That's what sets the Vision TV show apart. The Vision is an inspirational talk show that elevates voices of faith through powerful conversations, highlighting changemakers making a difference, blending heartfelt storytelling with practical insight, encouraging viewers to live life with clarity, compassion, and vision. Join Alveda King and friends for The Vision, Tuesdays right here on the Dove TV.
Okay, welcome back. What an honor to have back with us. Very timely, and he's in Texas. He is from Israel, but today he's in Texas. Jonathan Feldstein's back with us, president of the Genesis 123 Foundation. That's also the website. Genesis123.co is the place to go and be a part of what he's doing. And check out his book, Israel, the Miracle. Jonathan, before I leave Lebanon, just one quick thought. In the heat of all of this, when it seems like the president and the prime minister were not getting along, and I want you to comment on that. But the president actually suggested that Syria needs to go into Lebanon and manage the problem. I about fell out of bed on that one. Do you have any idea what that was all about?
I hope it was a mini stroke. That's the only rational excuse. The head of Syria is a jihadist, is an Islamist. He has a nice suit and tie now. But after telling Israel, this is so ironic, saying to Israel that there are too many casualties, to then suggest that an Islamist who, until he became president of Syria through a bloody coup, was on I think it was the FBI's most wanted list with a bounty of $10 million on his head. Now he's been pasteurized, and suddenly he's a good guy who can not just be a statesman for the rebuilding of his country, but who can be responsible for the peace of the adjacent countries, which his country has controlled by proxy for many years. I really have no explanation of that other than to hope that it was a mini stroke.
All right, back to Turkey. This seems to be brewing, and it has to be taken serious, and yet they're a member of NATO. Where do you think this is going to go, Jonathan?
It's hard to know where it's going to go. Erdogan has been president or prime minister of Turkey for, I think, most of 20 years. He's really got the country in his hands. It's clear that his goal is to reestablish the Ottoman Empire, but we have to call that by what it is, the caliphate. Until the end of the First World War, that was the Islamic Empire that controlled much of the Middle East and beyond. My concern, as you discussed in your previous segment, is that Turkey is a member of NATO. It wouldn't take very much whether Turkey would actually go in and attack Israel, which he's threatened, which is obscene, and he should be outed for that and ousted from NATO. But if he were to do something that would goad Israel to have the need to attack, as you discussed in your previous segment, that would potentially trigger a full NATO response against Israel. And that's the most absurd thing. Israel doesn't need to be a member of NATO, but Israel is closer to the values and the security of the NATO alliance than Turkey is or ever will be. Turkey continues to, we already talked about it, continues to support and house and provide protection for Hamas terrorists. The president himself is an Islamist. He has bought and has close relations with Putin in Russia. So this is a guy who can't be trusted. And until Turkey is cleaned up, Turkey probably should not be in NATO. And I don't know why they just hosted a few weeks ago some kind of NATO gathering in Turkey. And I don't know why the NATO members just have not woken up and smelled the coffee and gone to make some kind of changes, because the world does change. Yeah. And even if there was somehow a good rationale for letting Turkey into NATO at some point, that rationale is past its expiration date.
Yeah, no question about that. So quickly, how would you describe the relationship between President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu?
Well, that's not true. I did speak to Prime Minister Netanyahu a couple of times, but I've never spoken to President Trump or Prime Minister Netanyahu about their relationship. My belief is that they generally see eye to eye on a lot of things that, like everybody, including even our spouses, we disagree on things, and I don't say that in any way to pretend that everything is rosy when it's not, because things sometimes aren't rosy. I do hope that a lot of the conflict that we hear about is also part of what we know was deliberate disinformation in previous rounds against Iran, specifically in June of 25, when a lot of public statements were made that's made it seem like the president and the prime minister were far apart, and then a 12-day operation against the Iranians happened with a good bit of joint coordination. That's my prayer, and we'll see how it plays out.
There's one clear thing that both the president is saying, the prime minister is saying, and that is that Iran needs to be denuked. You have any idea how we know that can be done for sure?
I wish I knew. That's a question I've asked security people in Israel myself. How do we know? How do we know that they only have nuclear material that can produce 11 nuclear warheads and not 15 that they're hiding somewhere? How do we know where their centrifuges are? The latest intelligence that Israel has shared publicly is that the centrifuges have been moved inside Pickaxe Mountain, which is a place that may be beyond reach. And if that's beyond reach, that means some kind of boots on the ground military operation to control it and destroy it. But I don't know how we know all these details. I do believe that Israel has tremendous intelligence, perhaps more than any other country in the world. in Iran, because we know that Iranians desperately want to be free, even people inside the regime. Look, we had a potential huge intelligence coup by the potential flipping of one of the most radical presidents of Iran, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, as a Mossad agent. That's remarkable, and I would love to be alive when the book and the movie come out about how that happened, even though he's a terrible, terrible guy. So I know we have the intelligence, but I don't know how we know the details. I just know that if we don't get rid of the Islamic Republic and the head of the octopus, then we're going to continue to see the brutalization of the Iranian people and the threats to Israel, the broader Middle East, and the United States.
How's the resolve in Israel now among the citizens? Are they tired?
Yeah. Yes, and we're enjoying. People can follow some of my writing on my Substack account. I wrote about that recently, and that's the kind of the paradox in which we live. We would all love to see this done once and for all. But as a neighbor of mine said, I live on the top of a 7th-floor apartment building, and my neighbor on the 5th floor got in one day, and going down to 0, we were having a quick conversation about the quiet. And I said to her something to the effect of, we need to finish this. And she said, we need to enjoy the quiet while we can. So there is that tremendous conflict. And my son, I'll tell you just as an illustration, it's a crazy situation. He's stationed in Lebanon right now, but he's in the middle of his exams for his 3rd year of university. And he's got to study for exams while he's in college and commute back to Jerusalem to take his exams. And he's tired of it. He's tired of that, but he's going to keep serving. And yeah, we're tired. It was a good question.
Wow. Okay, so how do we help you? I know prayer is the big one, but and you work so hard in bringing various groups together to work together. I guess the other question is: are Christians still coming to Israel for biblical tours, or is that slowed down?
Well, Christians are still coming, but tourism in general has slowed down. I would imagine the same proportion among Jews and Christians and other tourists, because it's hard to catch flights now. Flights are expensive, and people are still afraid that there's a war. But I, as far as helping, of course, I invite people to reach out at genesis123.co. This week, I had a tremendous experience doing a briefing in Nashville. There were a couple of teenagers present, and the information I got afterward is whatever I said so turned them on to connect to Israel and the Jewish people. And not that they weren't before, but it's just through the personal connections that I try to build, that it's my mandate to build. So I encourage everyone who's listening and following now just to be in touch and be part of what we're doing. A week ago, I was in Seattle in your time zone, and I had an amazing conference for our Root and Branch program. If people are looking to come to Israel, go to the Genesis123.co website and check out our Root and Branch Olive Harvest pilgrimage that we've been doing now for 3 years. But I always say, people can make donations, and that's great. But the most important way is to be informed and use that information to pray, because more than a financial donation to Genesis 123, prayer is God's currency.
Okay, it is. Genesis123.co. That's the place. Check out the book, Israel the Miracle, and the other website that he works with there. The details of what's going on is solutionsforpeaceingaza.com is the other one. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for letting us squeeze into your day. Let's stay connected. Prayers and thoughts with you, friend.
Thank you, Perry. God bless you.
You too.
Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? When you want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life, call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site, in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare. Your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, gonna let it shine. Oh, shine.
Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and we often talk about the subject of PTSD. It's an amazing season that people go through. And I am so honored to have with us today Dr. Tim Murphy. He's a licensed psychologist specializing in these areas. He's written a book that's fascinating called The Christ Cure, 10 Biblical Ways to Heal from Trauma, Tragedy, and PTSD. Previously, he served, by the way, there's a picture of the cover of his book on the television screen for those watching on the Dove TV network, so you may want to check that out. And his website is Dr. Tim Murphy, so DrTimMurphy.com, drtimmurphy.com. And he served 18 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. That's enough to give anybody PTSD.
8 terms.
How are you, friend? Nice to have you.
It's Perry, it's great to be with you. What a great honor to be with you today.
Well, thank you. This is such a huge subject. And as I said earlier, sometimes, Dr. Murphy, we have a tendency to just think this is a veteran's problem. And really, it can be a problem from anybody that has suffered trauma. Why did you decide to take this on?
Well, I had someone who experienced my own trauma in life, and when I finally came to terms with it, admitting that growing up in a home with an alcoholic father who was physically abusive to us, but I kept pushing that aside, and I had a life where, if you look at my resume, my gosh, it's the envy. I put myself through college and graduate school and published articles and taught in the School of Medicine, and then would give talks around the country, began television and radio work for many years, had my own Monday evening radio show long before Fraser Crane, and also had published a book called The Angry Child, published another book on overcoming passive aggression, ran for the state Senate, won twice, ran for Congress, won 8 times, passed major legislation. And if that wasn't enough, because I felt I need to achieve more, because I'm just not satisfied. There's something I'm hungry for. Somehow I have to, if I achieve more, maybe then I will accept myself. You don't think of politicians struggling with self-esteem, but you know what a lot of us do. So I also joined the Navy. While I was in Congress, I worked in the Navy as a psychologist on a unit with post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury, and served on some aircraft carriers too. But in that, I thought, boy, this is some of my calling, working with people who have faced trauma as veterans. But actually, the fact is that about 70% of us face some life-threatening trauma to ourselves or someone close to us. And about 20% of those folks will have some lingering symptoms that can overpower them, and 10% with full-blown post-traumatic stress disorder, with anxiety and panic attacks and avoidance and broken relationships and depression. The list goes on and on. But this particular book came out of really when, to be humble, Perry, when I hit my own low spot in life, where I would find myself in the morning just say, I can't go on. And what I call cursing the sunrise. Oh, here I am for another day. I never wanted to end my life, but I certainly didn't want to face it again. And I had friends who reached out to me, because what happens that, what do they say? God sometimes takes people out of your life that you don't need and puts people out into your life that you do need, even when you think that's not there. Mm-hmm. And we began reading the Bible more. I'd studied the Bible, did some Bible studies, but really was fascinated with the Apostle Paul. And when we look at his life, in reading all the letters that he wrote and the book of Acts, this is someone who should have had major PTSD. From the beatings, the whippings, the near drowning at sea, the bitten by a snake, the robbed, pushed out of town, stoning and left for dead. He had so many traumatic events. I think I counted 30 or more that we know of in the Bible. So why wasn't he suicidal, alcoholic, isolated, a hermit? He wasn't. In fact, he became arguably one of the most influential, pure human beings that ever walked this earth. And so as I read about this, I said, well, instead of being caught up in the arrogance of my own self-pity, I need to learn from him. And I really began to sit down and write, and not knowing where this was going. And Pierre, I think you would understand this. I'm not saying this in a bragging way, but it really was, I think the Holy Spirit says, here's what you're going to write. And I just wrote. And it kept pouring out. I was just a vessel. Wow. So I say anything good in this book, give credit to God. I'll take credit for mistakes. But it's very painful to write this, though, but it's a hopeful book to read.
It's called The Christ Cure, again, and 10 Biblical Ways to Heal from Trauma. And check it out at the bookstores or online. Dr. Murphy, before we get into the book a little bit, how did you go from this incredible resume of success and hit the wall? What was missing?
What was missing was my family. And although I would go to church and I would pray, and I oftentimes prayed, there's a certain amount of a point when you really have to surrender, when you have to let go, when you have to accept. And I did that in times in my life. I mean, some people say, well, were you born again? I said, yeah, which time? Because we should all renew. Like Paul says, be transformed by a renewing of your mind. That's a long-term verb that isn't one and done. But what happened to me is in the many years that I was working hard at hospitals and working hard in politics and in the Navy, I was never home. Probably 25 years or so, barely had a relationship at home. My wife and I lived together. We loved each other, but really weren't respecting each other. And my life was in danger of falling apart. And I knew I had to change. And when my wife came to Washington, she says, come on, we're going home. We're going to work on this. What a wonderful experience that was to have someone to reach out. And then friends came around too. So this is where, that was my bottom that I hit. You know, I look at this that in our lives, Perry, sometimes the Lord says, okay, you got this. Go ahead. You wanted free will. You got it. Do what you got to do. And sometimes we get a little whisper in our ear that says, you're not doing the right way. And sometimes it's that stronger tap on the shoulder where friends or other people say, you need to change your life. And sometimes we get hit by the 2x4 upside the head, where we're told you can't be taking splinters out of someone else's eye when you have a plank on your own. But what happens to us when we have our own struggles with depression, we don't see it in ourselves. We can see it in someone else, but we don't see it in ourselves. I was really good at helping everybody else, but not very good at taking care of myself. And so what's that great line? To win the whole world, but lose your soul. Mm-hmm. And when I woke up and realized I'm not doing this anymore and could walk away from politics and stayed involved in psychology because I love working with veterans, first responders, and medical providers who have struggled with this, and clergy that I work with, to help us understand there is tremendous hope. And we learn the lessons from those who have hurt the most. And as you know, the Bible's filled with stories. Job wasn't someone who said, hey, my life is great. Let's see this. Look at Solomon. He struggled even though he had it all. Look at Noah. Look at Elijah hiding in a cave and saying, I can't do this anymore. And I love it when this is like someone with PTSD. You know, he has that thing in the mountain, and then the king's wife's coming after him. He hides under a broom tree, then under a cave. And they said that the wind came by and shook everything. The earthquake came by. The fires came by. And Elijah couldn't hear through all that. Sure, that's like the noise we have in our own heads. We're so filled with our negative thoughts, our depressive thoughts, our thoughts. We can't hear that all along God is there until God said to him, and I love this line, he says, what are you doing here, Elijah? What are you doing? And that's that wake-up call we have to understand. It may be a whisper, but it's always there. And that's where I take psychological principles in this book. I take stories of people who have really been through awful circumstances, but have come out better because of it, not despite it, but because of it. And everything is interlaced with stories from the Bible, particularly Paul, of how other people have done this. So I want people to understand our lives can get better. No matter what, there is hope out there, no matter how bad it gets. And that's why I'm so enthusiastic and inspired by this. But I should say this too. This book is not just about people who are broken, but it's also for the people who love them. Because many times we know someone and we know they're struggling and they don't want to get better. They don't see themselves getting better. This is a how-to guide of what to do. This isn't a theological treatise. This isn't a heavy-duty academic book. This is what do you do step by step, day by day. Here's the biblical lessons. Here's the psychological reports on this. Here's what you do. And I'm happy to say that the notes I get back from people of how the changes it's made in their life is inspiring to me. And I say, well, give all credit. He deserves it.
The book is entitled The Christ Cure. Check it out. All right. You know, Dr. Murphy, you again are a fulfillment of something I say often here on the program. Whatever God saves you from, brings you through, he turns you around and makes you a minister to. Given your experience in your own PTSD, helping others, is it, I don't know if the word curable is correct. Is it curable? Can you get over it?
I think people can. I mean, most people who experience trauma will have some temporary stress for that, but they can get better. What happens, there's three levels, Perry. It's a brilliant question you're asking because we have the initial trauma and there's nothing else we can do about it. I tell people, you can't unset the sun. It's over. Mm-hmm. But there's a second phase of trauma where we keep repeating. It's called loop memory. We go over and over and over this. And someone who has a traumatic event and thinks about it, they may literally think about it tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of times. And what that does each time, it sets the brain up with our fight or flight response. And the brain sends out stress hormones, which can affect our memory, our problem solving, our thinking skills. We can put on weight, our joints hurt. All these physical changes occur because we're changing the architecture of our brain. But we can intervene on that by saying, look, we're going to go over those memories and realize there's some things we accept and recognize this is the value that people of faith have, that when we say we're part of something bigger, we believe in God, we trust in God, and God's grace is there. This is not a burden you have to carry and you can go forward. But there's another level of this, too, in dealing with trauma, what I call the reaction, where we feel depressed or we feel anxious and then we go, oh, goodness, I'm anxious. Wow, if I'm anxious, I must really be in bad shape. I think I'm having a heart attack. Boy, if I'm in this bad shape, maybe I can never get better. And we go in this death spiral of doom, and we don't need to do that. So that's another place we can intervene. And I believe it because I've seen it time and time again. People can and do get better. Hard to do it if you don't have hope.
Well,
you can do it.
On a personal note to you, I mean, you're a highly trained professional, and then you go through this. How did you balance psychology and faith?
Well, that's a great question because most psychologists refuse to talk about faith in the office, and it's no wonder many Christians don't trust psychologists and many psychologists don't trust religion. It's the only way, I think, to do it. And what has happened is over time, the more people I met and the more I work with, I realized it had to be done. What I do with my clients now is in my initial history-taking interview, I said, are you a believer? Do you have a certain faith? Yes. What is it? Do you practice religion? What is it? How often do you practice it? Do you pray? They like being asked those questions. The majority of people who are religious, first of all, they get better if they're more likely if they're religious and sustained. But people report they like to be asked those questions because you're making a connection with them. If you avoid talking about it like it's some sort of a stigma, then they won't talk about it. So what I see is over time that being more and more confident and unafraid, and then that also shows for people they're unafraid too. At the beginning of the book, I begin with some very humble descriptions of the messes that I've been through, and I lace that throughout the book. Not only me, but other people I've seen who've made terrible mistakes in their life, because sometimes trauma we bring on ourselves, and sometimes it's from the outside. But what I see is a growth in my confidence of helping other people because I've seen other people get better as they embrace faith and psychology together.
One other question before I take a break. I'm trying to figure out how to ask the question. I don't know those of us who have had maybe moments of depression can really understand and be empathetic with those who have lived deep in depression. We just want you to take a pill and snap out of it. Can you describe your depression?
Yeah, depression is really a state where you feel low energy. You don't want to get out of bed. You may eat too much, eat too little. It's distant relationships. You feel like you're in a fog. You feel like even when people are talking to you, they're really not connecting because you're so overwhelmed with your own emotions. Now, physiologically, there's changes that take place in our bodies when the parts of our brain to even give us pleasure in life is not there. That condition is called anhedonia, where there is no pleasure. We don't see that. And now people who are depressed don't always appear that way. They can be happy at times. You may have known people that were surprised when they have a suicide attempt. Said, gee, I was just talking to Joe yesterday. He seemed happy. Because people can enter situations and still do that. They can still hold it together because somewhere in them is a glimmer of hope that things change. But overall, the person who reaches that point feels there's no hope. There's no one, and there's no future. And they struggle day to day. And because of their very low energy, and because their brain's always sending out the signal that there's no real pleasure there, people begin to believe their own messages. And part of shaking out of depression is to help change the way they think and change the way they behave. You mentioned pills, and I actually think we're an over-medicated society. Medication may change the way you feel. It doesn't change how you think. It doesn't change how you behave. As a matter of fact, the majority of people with depression, medication does not work.
Let me take a quick break. Let me show our viewers and listeners. What an honor to talk to Dr. Tim Murphy with us today. He's authored a book. It's a must-read called The Christ Cure, 10 Biblical Ways to Heal from Trauma, Tragedy, and PTSD. There's a picture of the cover of the book on the screen, and you can go to drtimmurphy.com is his website. We'll be right back. Hello everyone, Perry Atkinson here. I'm coming to you with some very exciting news. We are upgrading our radio and podcast studio so that we can serve you better, and we are so close to the finish line. To push us over, we just need $19,495 for the final equipment. Would you prayerfully consider a special summertime gift today? As always, please prayerfully seek the Lord's leading as you consider supporting the Dove, and only do what the Lord puts on your heart. And please don't take from your church or any other ministry that He has you involved in. We want His blessing on every gift. Call anytime, 541-776-5368, or go online safely and securely at the Dove's new website at thedove.us. And thank you. Thank you for praying for and supporting the mission of the Dove.
Here's that number again, 541-776-5368, or online at thedove.us. The Dove, encouraging and informative. Real Life with Jack Hibbs, now on the Dove TV every weekend. Direct from Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills, Jack challenges today's generation to understand and practice a biblical worldview, verse by verse, addressing key cultural and daily life issues. Deepen your walk with Christ to make an effective impact on your world. Don't miss Real Life with Jack Hibbs, Sundays at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. on the Dove TV, encouraging and informative.
Welcome back. What an honor to have with us today Dr. Tim Murphy. He's a licensed psychologist. He specializes in trauma. He served in the U.S. House of Representatives as a congressman in the state house or in the state senate. But he's authored a book that kind of brings it all together. It's called The Christ Cure, 10 Biblical Ways to Heal from Trauma, Tragedy, and PTSD. And again, for those of you watching on the Dove Television Network, there is a picture of the cover of the book. If you're listening on radio, just remember the title, The Christ Cure. And his website is drtimmurphy.com, drtimmurphy.com. Dr. Murphy, I could have you for a week. There's so much here. I want to come back to depression just for a moment. How do you protect yourself when you're depressed from becoming angry, or do you?
Becoming angry. Oh, that's a great question. Because as a matter of fact, one of the symptoms that may be with depression is anger and agitation, picking fights with people, short temper, and all those are another way of signaling that. And one of the points that I let people know about is when you encounter someone who seems moody and angry, don't just assume that they're a jerk. I always assume they've got something else going on in their life that's a problem. There's some pain behind the anger. And one of the ways that we help people is help them recognize it. This is where spouses or loved ones saying, why is my husband or wife always so moody and upset about things and short-tempered? Well, it may well be you're dealing with depression. And so that has to be dealt with. Getting in more arguments or threatening people isn't going to be the way around it. And that's what's so beautiful about the biblical messages that come through. When Jesus, he's so filled with compassion, even when Peter, with his major mess ups, says, hey, am I more important, or how many times should I forgive? And Jesus says, Peter, come on. How many times I got to tell you? Let's go on with this. Let's get it together. And that's the beautiful message that comes when you meld the ideas of patience and mindfulness and meditation that comes from the psychological aspects, but put that together with the biblical aspects and understand that we don't have to live lives of anger. But behind that, one more thing, Perry, and this is really important. A lot of times what's behind depression is a sense of shame, particularly if we've been through trauma. Guilt is okay. Now, that sounds weird, but guilt is okay. Guilt is reasonable and rational. If we've done something wrong, we should feel guilty about it. And we have a path we need to take with that. We need to reconcile with those we've hurt. We need to make amends with anybody we've hurt. We need to apologize to those who hurt. But also, we need to, if we get caught up in shame, so guilt is, I've done something wrong. Shame is, I am wrong. Guilt is, I've made mistakes. Shame is, I am a mistake. God has made a mistake. I shouldn't be here. When we're in that mindset, there's not many places you can go. So I tell people, let's deal with your guilt. But part of guilt is also not taking responsibility for things you had nothing to do with. Don't take blame for something that happened and say, well, I should have done this. If only I'd done this. No, that's not reasonable. But the next part is forgiveness, or we condemn. And so I set this up in the book of shame versus guilt, and forgiveness versus condemnation. And under this is very important. If we look to other people to forgive us for everything we've ever done, we're not going to get there. Because many times people have their own issues. We can apologize, we do what we can, we make amends, but they have other issues. Look, on my own life, and probably your own life too, there's some people who are going to remember and carry the grudge, and that's going to be it. Jesus tells us don't do that. Forgive 7 times 70 and more. But here's the thing that happens. These 6 words. God forgives. Others might. I must. And so that's an obligation that we have been told to us to, forgive us our trespasses or forgive us our. That's something we have to do. Forgive us our debt. And Jesus told us to do that. But it's very, very hard when we're depressed. It's very, very hard when we've experienced trauma. But time and time again, I know people who have been deeply hurt by things that have happened to them. And sometimes we get mad at God. Why did you bring this cancer on my child? Why did you take this person's life away? Why did you let these things happen to me? I stopped asking why, and I started asking for forgiveness. And that frees us up from no longer having to have the burden of hatred and anger and carrying a grudge. And it's a massive relief. And without carrying those burdens, we can put our hearts back in a setting towards love and action towards other people.
Wow, beautiful. Was COVID a PTSD moment for many?
A brilliant question. And here's the thing. We've turned it into a PTSD moment. It really was not life-threatening for many, but with the constant barrage of the stress of seeing things on television, of people stacked up in makeshift morgues and hospitals, it scared a lot of us. And being told there's nothing we could do, that millions would die, this would be worse than the Spanish flu early in the 20th century. That was part. The second part of this was the isolation. Stay at home. Don't go out. Even don't go outside. We now know going outside would have been the best thing because the sun is a disinfectant. Kills off viruses. Particularly for adolescents and young adults, this was very damaging. When we see the depression and anxiety rates among young adults and teenagers doubled, suicide rates soared. Suicide is now the second leading cause of death for adolescents and young adults, accidents being number one, and many of those accidents are probably suicidal acts too. So it's not just suicidal deaths, but it's suicidal ideation and suicidal thoughts. It's something like 30% of adolescents have said they've thought about suicide. 10% has said they have made an attempt. That's staggering. Now, once you have those attempts, that itself is a traumatic event. To reach that point of despair, say, I cannot go on, there's nothing there. And again, with many schools and institutions saying we can't talk about God, we can't say the J word, there's really a Christophobia out there. I say, no, this is the answer. This is important. I mean, my own local library won't let me talk about this book because, look, it says Christ on it. Can't talk about it. We get banned from places too. But faith grows sometimes where it's forbidden. And we have to push back on those things. But I think what has happened out of the whole COVID issue is it did increase depression, anxiety, suicide, and drug overdose deaths.
Yeah. There's another part of this that's interesting to me. And I guess it still deals in the area of depression. I don't know, maybe the whole PTSD. If somebody isn't dealing with the PTSD in their life and they're just lingering out there, can it lead to false narratives? They begin to believe something that didn't happen?
That's, wow, powerful question. So here's how this works. When I talk about the initial event happens, many times we'll have amnesia for parts of it. I've worked with soldiers who literally have blacked out in their memory parts of the event that happened because it was so traumatic. The second thing people will do, they'll add elements to it. So soldiers and police officers I've talked to when they've had a traumatic event says, well, this happened, and if only I had done this, I could have changed it. And yet I remember once being in Walter Reed Hospital, and a soldier was telling me all these things. He said, if only I'd done this, my buddy would have gotten killed. And some of his other people from his unit were there and says, no, that didn't happen at all. You were nowhere near that. You were 20 yards away in a different building. He says, no, I remember it this way. But what happens is in our loop memory, because we want to put closure on this. And if we can blame ourselves, that's one way we can get closure to say, if only I'd done this, this person's lives would have been saved. But we start to add elements that aren't there. We subtract elements that are there. We take responsibility for things we don't have responsibility for. And sometimes we imagine things that have happened in our lives because we're saying, well, I'm upset and anxious and depressed, so something must have happened to me. I'll just kind of go through, and they may latch on the news of the day and say, well, maybe that happened to me. Well, maybe it didn't. So it is a matter of that a big part of healing is humility and honesty and discovery. But even when I ask people, well, now that you know that this happened or may not have happened, you've developed these symptoms and these behaviors where the biggest problem is you become your diagnosis. Say, I am depressed. No.
Hi, I'm Paulina Leiser, producer and host of The Ancient Church. Join me Sunday evenings as we explore Orthodox Christianity, its history, theology, worship, and living traditions.
The Ancient Church, Sundays at 6 p.m. on the Dove TV.
Buying or selling a home can be stressful. It's one of the biggest decisions you'll make in your lifetime. That's why it's important to work with someone you trust, someone who has the right experience and knowledge of the market.
Hi, we're Patrick and Paulina Leiser with Leiser Real Estate Group.
And whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, our mission is to take the stress out of the transaction and make it as seamless and rewarding as possible.
Contact us today. We look forward to working with you.
If you don't drive it, donate it. By supporting us, you'll get even more mileage out of it.
Thank you from the Dove TV. The Dove TV is pleased to announce we're now seen in the San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose area via a new full-power TV station, KEDB, seen on cable, satellite TV, and over the air. The Dove TV, encouraging and informative for San Francisco, Oakland, and the San Jose area on new full-power KEDB TV.
I'm Paulina Leiser. Join me as we explore the beauty and depth of Orthodox Christianity on the ancient church, Sundays on theDove TV.
Good morning. You're tuned to theDove, encouraging and informative, helping Oregon, Northern California, Idaho, and Nevada start the day with news and encouragement. This is Mornings on theDove.
Well, good morning to you and happy Tuesday. Welcome to Mornings on theDove, another beautiful day in the neighborhood. I'm joined by my sidekick down at the Southern Command, Mr. Steve Johnson.
Hey, it's good to be here. A beautiful day in the neighborhood, and fortunately, you still have some smoke up there. Are you eating it? Are you chewing it?
You know, what has happened, at least right outside the door, the wind shifted, the valley is clear.
Good.
We're enjoying some fresh air. We can smell it a little bit, but we have some high cloud cover, which could develop into thunderstorms. We'll talk about that. In fact, if you look over my shoulder, that's kind of the cloud cover that's out there this morning.
Gotcha.
It did make for a beautiful sunrise. However, we'll have a fire update. It's pretty monumental what's going on in the state of Oregon. Still over 200,000 acres are burning, and the numbers are staggering. But they're slowly getting a handle on it. I think there's a couple of good things, if there is. The wind kind of moves things around a little bit, so at least here we're enjoying some fresh air this morning. But the humidity stays high, which is good. When you get the humidity down around 10% or below, but it's been in the low 30s, low to middle 30s, and that does help a little bit. So anyway, we'll give you an update on all that coming up. A lot going on the news today. Wow, just so much going on. Just wait 10 minutes, something will pop up.
Yeah.
So what do you got? What's going on?
Well, not a whole lot. I mean, as far as what we are looking at today, this is National Junk Food Day. I suppose you could put whatever category you want of what you consider to be junk food. Because different people have different ideas of that. So I'm looking at a picture of it, and they have onion rings in there. Is that junk food? I guess it is, but I like them. Donuts, hot dogs even. I don't know. I think that needs to be looked at a little bit more. And it's also, let's see, that's about it. There's not a whole lot. It says National Be Someone Day, which sounds very ego-focused. I would say, be that person to someone else who they need a helping hand today.
It's Be Somebody today?
Be Someone Day, which, like I said, I want to turn that into as opposed to all the stuff that we see on social media where people are trying to be someone, I'd say be someone to that person who needs someone.
Be a blessing today.
And bring them some junk food. I don't know. We try to tie these things together.
All right, there we go.
As much as I can do.
That's it. You did a good job. All right, let's check out the weather. Let's see how it's going to be today.
Here's a look at your Tuesday weather from Grange Co-op. Across northern Oregon and southern Washington, mostly sunny skies through the region with Vancouver near 96 and Portland 97. Wilsonville turns hot with a high of 100 and McMinnville tops out near 97. Through the Willamette Valley, mostly sunny weather continues with afternoon highs well into the upper 90s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene. Lows tonight cool back into the low to mid-60s. Smoke and haze in central Oregon clearing to sunshine in Prineville near 95, while Bend and Sun River reached the low 90s. Boise remained smoky and partly sunny with a hot afternoon high near 99. Along the Oregon coast, patchy fog gives way to mostly sunny skies with Coos Bay near 72 and Port Orford 70. Brookings turns partly sunny near 54 and Crescent City reaches 64 after patchy fog. Hot in southern Oregon with highs around 100 in Grants Pass and 102 in Medford. Ashland reaches 97 while Klamath Falls turns partly sunny with a high of 91. Across Northern California, heat continues in Wairika near 96, Redding 199 in Chico. Fort Bragg stays much cooler with mostly sunny skies and a high of 62. Around the Bay Area, a slight chance of showers gives way to sunshine and 88 in Santa Rosa, Napa 89, San Francisco 78, and San Jose 91. Overnight lows fall into the upper 50s to mid-60s. Across Central California, more hot weather in Sacramento, Stockton the Modesto reaching 97, Fresno, Visalia, and Bakersfield climb to 100, with heat advisories through the region. That's a snapshot of today's weather from Grange Co-op.
All right, there's a snapshot of our backyard, and you can see we have some high clouds, a little bit of smoke kind of locked in between the clouds on the top of the mountains, but nothing like we had yesterday. At least you can see across the valley right now. So anyway, not bad. We're going to take that. We'll give you the fire update coming up in a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Anthony George says we should be looking back to the Old Testament, which I think he's right. For people who think they just want to read the New Testament, which is great, the Old Testament has a lot of terrific things in there too. And he goes back to God's promise to Abraham. So we're going back to the first book, Genesis 13. And he says it concludes that if God gives something to you, it is yours.
He said, Abraham, lift your eyes now and look from the place where you are, northward, southward, eastward, and westward. For how much of the land? All the land which you see I give to you and to your descendants for how long? Forever. Now it either means forever or it doesn't. And God says, I will make your descendants as numerous as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could number dust particles, then your descendants also could be numbered. So arise, walk in the land through its length and through its width, for, what does he say? I give it to you. It's interesting he said, I give it to you. He didn't say the United Kingdom's going to give it to you through the British Mandate. He didn't say the United Nations is going to give it to you through their allotment and the territorial boundaries of coexistence with other racial groups. God said, I am giving it to you. It is a divine bequeathal, a divine bestowal.
Well, that reminds me of the book that Dr. David Jeremiah wrote quite a few years ago. And in that book, I'm trying to think of the name of the book, and I will here in a minute. But in that book, he described the original real estate agreement that God gave Israel.
Yeah, it's about twice the size, maybe 3 times larger than what Israel is right now.
They're saying Israel is about 28% of the original contract today. And to think there's been administrations past, both Republican and Democrat, to think that should be cut in half in a 2-state solution. So
I agree.
And when you look at the original real estate contract that God gave Israel through Abraham, you look at this and you go, wow.
Talk about Genesis being in the news today. I
Yes.
mean, there it is right there. There's part of a controversy.
Yeah, it really is. All right, good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. Let's take a look at some of the top stories, and they are numerous this morning. The first one is a little bit of an update. The escalation between the United States and Iran continues over the last several days, and this is accelerating into all kinds of action. Because right now, as you know, Iran lobbed a couple of missiles into Jordan and killed 2 U.S. service members, and the third one is still missing. And the president said, you will pay for this more than you can possibly imagine. And it looks like now that the president, through the command, Central Command, is now targeting not only military facilities,